Welcome back to the Wild Rift Origins series. That was one hell of a grand final that we just bore witness to at Scoundrel. A full 5-map series, a reverse sweep. It's everything we wanted to see. And now we're stepping into the ultimate, the real grand final, the one in Group A that I'm sure we're all absolutely excited to look forward to. I'm Des, joined by a Scoundrel for what is going to be, no doubt, an incredible series between Game Lord and No Team, No Talent at Scoundrel.
Yeah, No Team, No Talent were the previous winners under their old banner, Tribe Gaming. Of course, they're no longer with Tribe for this particular Origin series, but the team is the same. And I think, they had to fight a little harder this time round. Game Lord have been ramping up over the course of a few months. When this team was put together, they were considered the ultimate super team of Europe. And they just weren't able to get into full swing of things. But by the time that this Origin series has rolled around, the team is clearly firing on all cylinders.
Indeed. Well, I've been told that our pick and ban is ready. So how about we get straight into this one and see how this best of 5 grand final is going to shake down. And this is your kind of time to shine, Scoundrel. I know that you love talking about pick and ban strategy. What are you expecting to come out of Group A?
Well, these are the guys who I expect to be really up to date with the meta. We've already seen NTNT go for the Graves in the jungle. They really value the Graves as a pick overall. I know that Graves can probably be flexed to one of the solo lanes as well. I think Graves in general is a super strong pick on this patch. Very interesting that NTNT are just banning Garen over and over again.
You know why that is? Leon said to us yesterday in the interview, he's like, I hate Garen. He's like, you cannot beat that champion. I want to ban him every single game, so I won't be too surprised to see it going away. Camille and Ziggs and the Wukong, the other 3.
I don't massively agree with that analysis. I think Garen is in a pretty weak spot overall right now. But at the end of the day, Leon is Leon. He generally tends to have a very specific set of picks that he likes in the Baron lane, and so that makes a little bit of sense when it comes to Leon.
Absolutely. The Akali and the Fiora are the last 2 to come through. Akali feels a bit of a perma-ban that's come through throughout much of the Origin series, at least in July. Gragas, we spoke about that for Leon going back to form. This makes me wonder, are we going to see that triple AD carry come out once again from NTNT?
Yeah, potentially. We've seen a lot of those style of drafts come through for these guys, but they're going to go for the Gragas as a priority. That's very interesting. Ooh. Obviously, it's something that Leon has played pretty consistently. Game Lord go for a Corki Lucian here, so Corki flexed to both mid and AD carry. I would imagine that it is a mid lane Lucian and an AD carry Corki with the current meta setups. But Graves will get picked up by NTNT here, so that will be, I imagine, well, look, first thoughts is Doom picking up the Graves, but I know that it can be flexed.
You know what this is? This is just an arms race for the marksman at this point as well. Like, forget about the comp. How many marksmen can you get on your team before you start running out of strong picks? Because that pick of the Lucian coming in for Game Lord, straight away going against Snitch on the other side. And their response, as you mentioned, the Graves and the Senna, the Jarvan being locked in. Did you see that get picked up in one of the games yesterday? Not the strongest jungle at the moment, definitely not the most popular, but still got its place in the meta.
Yeah, absolutely. Jarvan, I think, in general, is a pretty strong frontline jungle. The Lee Sin getting locked in is again flexible because I know that Leon plays Lee Sin top, so it's still a very, very wide open draft, but I think it's going to be fasting center bot lane with Gragas jungle. And then the Singed coming through, that is pretty mental, honestly. That's something that Random loves to play. So the Singed coming through is very interesting for me.
He lives up to his name, doesn't he? Yeah, the Singed one that we never really get to see all that much of. When it works, it's phenomenal. It gets ahead. It is one of the most oppressive champions to keep up with. Falls behind, you basically cannon fodder to the other team throughout the majority of the game. I'll be very surprised to see if that Graves does go towards topside, because the Gragas yesterday was absolutely massive coming out for NTNT. If they opted to say, look, we're going to change it around now, big risk is the way that I look at it. Let's get ourselves, though, into game number 1. In fact, let's not. Almost ready in just a minute, I'm hearing. So I'm thinking about these picks a little bit more for a second at Scoundrel. What I want to talk about is that Orianna pick coming through. We saw the marksman coming out of Snitch yesterday, but here it's the Orianna instead. What do you make of that?
Orianna with Jarvan. I mean, I think realistically,
against the Jarvan, right?
Sorry, going against the Jarvan. Yeah, I think it's a very Snitch pick. I don't really like it in this comp, but it provides a lot of zoning. So Orianna herself can provide a lot of zoning to keep things like the Senna safe and keep things, and sort of facilitates the Lee Sin and the Graves a little bit. It's just to provide you with that CC that this team is lacking. Like, there isn't a huge amount of CC on this team right now, so it just provides a little extra CC, which can help facilitate these team fights a bit better.
Awesome. Well, that false start we had just a second ago is good to go. The green light has been given. Game 1 in this best of 5 is about to get underway. Let's jump into it. NTNT coming up against Game Lord for that spot at the top of the table. do want to touch on what this means for a lot of teams here at Scoundrel as well. Big points boost that you're getting here in the July Origin Series. Winner of this one basically climbs their way up towards top place, or at least in the place of NTNT. I think GameLord, even if they win this because of the points that NT would walk away with, still wouldn't take first place. But given GameLord finished 4th in the June Origin Series, it'd be a big step up for them and elevate themselves into 2nd place.
I think realistically, what you have to look at is that forget like Origin Point series and all that kind of stuff, because I think clearly these the two best teams that we have in Europe right now, and I think it's going to remain that way for quite some time. But what I really want to talk about is essentially the ongoing rivalry between these two teams in Europe. These two teams have been consistently at each other's throats over the course of numerous tournaments in the build-up to the Origin series. And to be honest with you, GameLord have never really managed to get the edge over Tribe consistently. So if we're a series win here would not only be great for them in terms of how they performed in the Origin series and obviously keeping themselves close to that qualification spot, but also it would just be a great win for them overall against Tribe, or rather no NTNT, because they've always struggled, I think, versus this roster overall.
Yeah, we did talk a little bit about it in the pre-show. I didn't even consider the fact that you see the Lee Sin going into the jungle, meaning the Gragas had to go support, and therefore Leon would be playing on this in the top lane. He had the kind of flex choice to move those different things around, but the Gragas going into support was pretty much guaranteed, and we are seeing Leon stepping up on that Graves in the top side, up against Random, that early bullying coming through, so much so that there is a double gank coming in on the top side. Zefter not quite done with his business in top lane. But I think at this point, Leon being ever so slightly too safe and still has that barrier on side. Both summoners down for Random.
Yeah, I think that was, in general, a pretty solid play from Random. You want to take any early advantage that you can get versus Graves, and I think Graves is one of those champions that right now that scales really well with the current item crop. So if you can just get yourself a little bit further ahead of Graves, Graves is in the Baron lane. Graves is a duelist. He wants to get in your face. He wants to fight you as much as possible. And that's the kind of the way that Graves wants to play that lane now. If you could just get that slight edge as a Singed, you really shut down what Graves wants to do to you in the laning phase, and it also allows you to scale nicely too. So I understand what Random was doing there. I think it was a relatively sensible decision, but it looks like Zefter just going to get away here.
Yeah, Friend, I think, obviously playing on the fasting center here as well. Not too concerned about being in lane for a couple of seconds. I was like, 2 minutes in and you completely bailed on the lane. What the hell's going on here? Looking to make something happen, and sure enough, the Lucian put down low, but not low enough that Snitch can quite get the finish. And given he's out of mana, in fact, that's a big engage going straight in there. That's a bit over-aggressive on my side, Friend. The flash away, the Q might be able to connect. No, Doom not able to find anything, and enough zoning coming out of YQ here with the ult coming through. Okay, kind of scary for a moment. Wasn't quite sure about the Lucian aggression at that point, but it doesn't pay off for either side.
No, but I think overall, Doom helping Snitch go for a reset here. Doom overextending slightly.
Oh, why?
No, but I get what he was doing, but it was just misplayed. Like, he was trying to crash the wave to give Snitch a reset so that Snitch could go back, get back for the next wave, and there wouldn't really be any drop-offs. But Doom just, I think, underestimating Zefter, I would say. Like, just giving a little underestimation to Zefter. But I think realistically, that was... the intention from Doom was good, the execution was bad.
Yeah, I think from both sides, you saw that little bit of aggression coming in. The same from the Lucia not too long prior to that point. The top side always proving out to be the aggressive lane that it can often be. Yesterday in the Group B game that we saw, Group A game between Keizo and NTNT, it was hyper aggressive. It's the same story here coming in. The Q's on side, instant charge through. Easy for Doom to collect that kill, only to possibly get traded out by Zefter, who's here in the nick of time. It's going to be a 1-for-1 on the top side.
It's not often that you'd say that Doom's kind of getting challenged in the jungle. I think Doom has classically been the best jungler that Europe has to offer in all of the tournaments that we've seen, even when former Tribe Gaming former Tribe EU.
Scoundrel. We can see the stacks.
Oh wow, we can see the stacks. Thank you.
Yes.
Irrelevant though, because they're probably going to be not that important at this stage. But I think Doom has rarely been challenged in the jungle, but Zefter really stepping up. I think in both in pathing, but also in terms of some shot calling and some execution-based things. I think Zefter's really popping off this game. He's very up there in terms of jungle capabilities. But just look at this, immediately path towards top. Is there to reclaim that kill that Doom was able to pick off, and huge wins for Zefter, because now he's going to be able to be very proactive in controlling these global objectives.
What I love from the 2 kills that he's got so far as well is they've been a double kill for YQ, the attempted dive coming out. Oh, it's going to be a bit of a stinger. I was going to say for Zefter, it's been reactive on those 2 kills that he's got so far. He hasn't been the playmaker, he's been the play reactor, and has capitalized off the back of it there. All coming through from center, giving a bit of shield up onto the team. They want to get in close to try and steal away this Drake here. In goes the Lee Sin, stealing that one away. The kick coming straight through after as well. Follows through, but finds himself burned down by the Corki. Now the attention turns into the back line. Zephyr on a slither of HP, but still alive. Dares it again, straight back in like Indiana Jones. Snitch low enough. But this is going to be Game Lord backing away. 6-1 on kills. Everyone with blinking health bars, but no one going down.
Oh, it's disaster, really, overall for NT. They were just not able to convert on the kills. Yes, they stole the Ocean Drake, but who really cares about Ocean Drake at the end of the day? It's such a minor Drake win condition in this game. I think realistically, the big loser is the fact that NT walked away with absolutely no kills from that scenario. And that is huge, especially with the kill changes. I don't know if you know, but the kill changes on 2.4 mean that solo kills, or at least the person that gets the kill, ends up getting a load more gold. So if Snitch and Leon were able to just convert some of these low HP bars into kills, we would have had a huge injection of gold onto some of the key members that need to step up in terms of damage carry potential here for NT. But overall, I think well executed for Game Lord to get out of that. And by the way, Stoneplate enchant is absolutely nutty broken, and Zephyr and Shkao able to get away using that really well in that fight.
We saw it kind of crawling up in the June Origin series as well. You and I had a good chat about it. Actually, some teams were starting to roll the Stoneplate an awful lot. Some even bringing along 2 or 3 to the first Drake fight. And you just saw Gallios just gain incredible amounts of HP and serve as these huge tanks in those early fights. And now, as you mentioned, you're starting to see it crawling on a little bit more. It's on the Braum, it's on the Jarvan. None, of course, on the other side at this point, but you can see just how much they did in that previous fight.
Yeah, it's just a great enchant. It's so cheap for what it gives you, and for people who aren't that concerned about dealing damage, it is an absolutely ludicrous enchant to pick up. So if you're going like a tank-based Jarvan build, or your Braum, for instance, where your damage output is not that important, Stoneplate is such a value enchant overall. It's absolutely ludicrous. But right now, I think, Game Lord definitely in a strong position this game, and they're going aggressive onto Snitch.
Yeah, he's been caught out here and isolated down the jungle. Nothing really to say. That's where you're going to see the Jarvan shining as well with the flag and drag into the ult. No way of getting away. And even if that Stoneplate's on side, well, you've already unloaded the combo. Your damage combos come out. You're standing there unkillable for a few seconds. Combo's back online. You can do it all over again. But another good catch coming out for Game Lord.
And I think Game Lord just don't really care about these objectives. They have scaling elements in their own roster. They've got the Singe, they've got the Corki, they've got great mid-game options with the Jarvan and the Lucian. They know that they can match NT as this game progresses. Doom just overextending for the kill at random here. I mean, Doom, he's playing very uncharacteristically poorly this game. 1 and 4, like that is not something that we're used to seeing on Doom. He's gone for the Lee Sin, which, I know it's a great pick for him overall, but I think, I was so impressed with his Graves. I would have just loved to see the Graves for him and allowed him to be a little bit more, give him more ability to outplay as well onto Zephyr, just being a bit more aggressive, building up those resistances. And I think Leon hasn't really made this top lane Graves work to great effect.
No, I think he's just getting very, very keen here to try and make plays, as you say. For Doom, it's about this impact against Game Lords. You want to get the early game proactivity on the go, but Zephyr is there every single time. We've got to touch on him yet again, being there at the right time, in the right place, and securing a kill back for his team. Or in this case, not even a kill back, just a kill outright. Does Doom sound absolutely nothing? I'll also give a bit of credit to Random, by the way. Survived in this lane where he was bullied super hard early on by Leon. You're finding that point now where the Singe is going to start getting tanky enough that you're not really super worried about hanging around in lane. You've seen him running away from the Graves, even with the ult on. Even with the Graves ulting into his face, it's no real big concern.
No, I think realistically, one of the things that you do have to remember that when you're playing a Lee Sin and you get behind, it can feel really awkward to play. And I think Doom in this scenario is very quickly becoming a kickbot and maybe a potential objective stealer jungler, which we might see play out here on this Dragon again. Doom waiting in the wings. We have the Corki package ready to go. I love the fact that we created some natural priority on the Baron lane with that Rift Herald. You can see Doom lands the Sonic Wave here.
Does it, but doesn't quite get the smite off, instead secured away by Zephyr. So as you mentioned, playing for the steal game over anything else, and quite rightly so. Rather than trying to commit 5 to a fight they know they can't win at this point, just have Leon get on the split push, get him nice and fed, ready for the next fight. In goes Zephyr, straight away the ult coming in immediately, kicked out the other side of his own ultimate. Even with that stone plate coming out, still falls dangerously low, but some good kiting coming in here. Great 3-man shockwave connects, but not enough to knock anyone down. All rooted up by the center, and Yaku's going nuts on the loose. Double kill coming out of the fight, and now Clue He's got no clue, apparently. Finds himself nuked down, a triple kill for the Lucian. The bot lane tower also to fall, while Leon still carries on in the top lane.
The problem is the major damage dealers for NT are just not there yet. Like, Snitch has not got the items required. Friend really needs a big injection of souls. He's also massively behind in terms of levels. You know, if you're running these team fights without Leon, you're running a team fight that is severely neutered in terms of what it can actually do in terms of damage output. And that's one of the major issues that I think NT are facing with right now. You just see it here, like, you know, end of the day, great engaged after with that gargle or the stoneplate enchant, just able to survive a significant amount of time. And then watch Snitch, massive shockwave. It tickled the enemy team. We're just not at the stage in the game yet where the Orianna is chunking people out. Friend doesn't have enough stacks to be super relevant, and obviously Clue and Friend in general haven't had the best games in the world, and so they are just not significant, and they're not having a significant enough impact in these fights without the addition of Leon to help out.
As a general summary of the game, I think, is it's not going super well for any member of NT right now. Really, the top side, the only place you're looking, but you look at the other side, the Jarvan's basically even, the Lucian's ahead, the Corki isn't far behind. It's all good collecting all that solo XP, all the solo farm, the towers going down, and the gold that's starting to amass onto the graves. But I just wonder, you can have those two items, that 2-item power spike if you want to get there. You've already got 2 or 3 members on the other team that have already hit that point. You're not going to be as impactful as you need the team to be at this point, but equally, going for these team fights right now, probably not the best idea. It's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't if you're the side of NT.
I mean, legit, that is actually the best sort of explanation of where we are right now if you're NT. You need to wait to scale, but clearly Game Lord are not letting you wait to scale. Now, what I do like here is we're seeing a play around Leon.
Yeah, really trying the best here as well. Good cutting away coming out of the Lucian. Nice kick coming through as well. Off the back of that from Doom. They might actually find some here at Scoundrel. Yeku going down. They've got the kick coming through onto the Jarvan. Even with the flag and drag away, still finds himself caught out. This is where Doom is going to start shining. Onto Show, popping out the stone plate as well. But he don't care about that. He's basically a big meat stick at this point. Slaps him about a little bit. A double kill for Doom. This could be the big change they needed, trying to turn some attention in towards the Baron. But here goes Random going ham into the back line. Friend, the one looking quite low, seeming to be the target. But he can't quite get either low enough, it feels like. One more goes down. The Corki's gone. Random the next to fall down here. That will be everyone taken down. NT with a massive turnaround and now put their focus on the Baron.
They're very low HP bars, though. Friend does get a little heal off, keep Leon engaged in the fight. Some teleports coming through. This could be very risky. I'm seeing teleports being bought across the board. Here comes Yeku.
Can't do anything about it as well. That could be a massive triple kill for him, though. Finds one. Can he find the next? Looking on towards Snitch, who's just about there to keep himself going, but no. Finally falls down. Collected up at the back end by Doom, I believe it was. Finding himself on a killing spree. So try as they might, Game Lord couldn't quite stop it. Great play coming out for NT.
Yeah, brilliant stuff. Very decisive. Finally, when you see them make a play around Leon on the top side of the map, they actually have the damage necessary. Now, it was a man advantage, but that's what you need at this point. If you're NT, you need to be making these cross-map plays where you can find small man advantages. Big play from these guys. You know, I think overall, you're playing and including Leon in your team fights is necessary. I know that NT like to play a split push Leon style. It's something they've done, you know, consistently throughout their history. But just in this particular circumstance, you need your Graves to be involved in the fight. Great play around the Stinge, just kiting it backwards and forwards. That's why I really like the Iceborne Gordon on the center here. It's very solid against the Stinge. And trading 2 for Baron at the end of the day is a relatively worthwhile trade. They have the Infernal Drake that just spawned up. They should be in a relatively comfortable position to secure this.
Probably where you look at that one and say, for Game Lord getting a little bit too comfortable with the lead they've established, and reasonably so, right? There's 1 kill for NT at that point until they get the massive swing back, and you think, okay, we can afford to split a little bit here, but apparently even 3 alone aren't enough. They need to have themselves fully stacked. Doom really following that one through to try and connect the kick, has the GA on side, plus the stone plate to keep himself going. Lots of low health bars on the side of Game Lord here. Is this where we're starting to see that scale building, do you think, for the side of NT?
Yeah, you do have to be worried about it. Like, obviously, the Senna and the Orianna are huge scaling carries, as is Leon, and Leon has been gifted a huge amount of solo experience. He's level 13, which is the highest level in the game right now, even across the Game Lord roster as well. And so you have to be a little worried, I think, if you're Game Lord. You've just lost the Infernal Dragon too, which is a huge win, because that's a huge damage boost now for this scaling composition, and you know that scaling compositions love to have that damage boost on their side. I mean, I think at this point, you know, NT have found their angle back into the game. They just have to be a little
really
careful.
Want this tower. I think they get away with this tower as well. The rotation's a little bit too quick. Everyone on the side of NT swinging down towards the bot lane, and Game Lord saying, thank you very much for that free mid tower. We'll take whatever we can get at this point to try and keep this lead intact, because despite that game state, let's not forget the Game Lord are 3,500 in the lead. Sure, that scaling is coming through for the side of NT. Doom has finally started to find his way back into the game and is having a pretty big impact. You've got to worry about that double AD carry scaling on the other side.
No, I agree. I think you're completely right. With this build on Lucian, he doesn't drop off as hard as he did in previous patches. The old patch was like the Black Cleaver Blade of the Ruined King build, which definitely dropped off after the mid game. But this particular Lucian build, if you have the ability to close the distance on your enemy, you'll scale just as hard as many other AD carries in the game. And so obviously, as you mentioned, big reason that I think Game Lord have got something left in their tank is because they have that Corki and they have that Lucian, as well as honestly the Singed. And one of the things that I think you're gonna have to be worried about is that I don't think that, you know, apart from a Lee Sin kick, there aren't many good ways to deal with the hard engage options that Game Lord have got here for NT. And I think overall NT need to play these fights very sensibly and very carefully, you know, play them very measured. If you miss a shockwave, that's when things are going to get really difficult for NT, and that's maybe where Game Lord could look to come back and exploit a potential advantage.
This will catch coming in here into the backside. Not quite sure about that one, Leon. Not the spot that you want to find yourself getting caught in. That's popped out here. In goes Zephyr as well. Stoneplate coming out to keep himself nice and tanky in the front. They find one. Doom's into the backline. What are you doing, boys? You're giving this advantage away. I think Zephyr making it away is going to be the cherry on the cake here for them. Down goes yet another 2 GAs burn. 2 5v1s coming in. Finally a kill coming in as Clue gets the ult through, but not the man that you want to be finding the kills right now. The shutdown coming in onto Doom. 2 huge kills for Game Lord, and that'll let them breathe easy just for a few more minutes.
I gotta be honest, what was Leon doing? I suppose that you saw Random in the bot lane, or you might have seen Yekui in the bot lane. I don't know who was in bot for Game Lord when that first came to be, but Leon just went 1v4. And the rest of the team, let's just watch back, right? Okay, Random's bot side. What is that dash? But did Leon just think he was dead? Like, was that an accidental dash into the middle of their team? I don't know.
I imagine. Look, the mistakes happen, right? We can't always take that away from them. That looked like a dash in completely the wrong direction.
Yeah, look, at the end of the day, these guys are pros. I think we're well within our rights to sort of look at things that potentially were an error, and I think that was an error overall. It definitely felt like it was a dash in the wrong direction, unless Leon was genuinely trying to set up for a fight. And I think, unfortunately, the team was just not on the same page, and that has now given a huge advantage back the way of Game Lord. And look at this, Singed going in.
Good kick away as well. Could have got the drag through, but Zepter's locked both of them down here as well. Summoners aren't quite there to keep them out of the safety zone they need to be in. However, breaking down into the full-on 5 versus 5. All 4 members of NT in full retreat here. Great ult coming out from Clue as a killer spree is earned by Yeku onto his double in this fight. Not as bad as it could have been, but you've lost Snitch and Friend, the 2 big players, the 2 big carries that you really need for a Baron fight.
Again, like, once that Lee Sin kick is down, how do you deal with the hard engage from Game Lord? And as we saw from Snitch, the shockwave literally only landed onto Braum. You can't deal with the hard engage. I mean, Leon and Clue trying to go for the 2 versus 5 here, just with those low HP bars. I think Clue's going to drop. And now the Elder Dragon spawning in 20 seconds. This could be end of game for NT if they can't make this work.
And they were really looking for it. To be fair, Clue's ult when it came out did knock 3 back on the side of Game Lord, which stopped it being maybe 3 or 4 kills coming out there and kept it down to the 2. But I think whether it was 2 or 4 doesn't really matter, because that dragon is going to be the next focus, as you say, it's Scoundrel.
Yeah, that will be the next option. Again, look at this. They kicked away the Singed. Nothing to stop the Jarvan finding that Cataclysm. No real escape. Once that shockwave's down, where's your CC? Apart from Clue, as you saw there, which was a very late disengage once people had already died. Yeah. I just don't think there's a good way to deal with the consistent amount of hard engage. And I would count Singed in this particular comp as a form of hard engage, just because of how quickly he's able to get onto the enemy team and slow them down. You know, I don't think there's a good answer from NT to deal with what with that kind of engage that the GLD are bringing to the table.
You've got to think about as well the grounded effect that Random brings as well, right? The slow, the no dash, the no flash, the no way of getting out of dodge, doing a lot of work for them on those moments when they really want to just catch someone out. And to be fair, that's the good way of looking at it. Drop down that stickiness, drop down the ult from Zephyr. Afterwards, they are rooted in place. Well, not rooted, but they can't move. You get the gist. And they're basically screwed. Clue was a little bit late on the ult in the previous fight, so I really want to see that being used a little more liberally next time. Don't worry about trying to catch 3 or 4 people with it or keeping it to save a kill, for example. Use it in the early fight to keep those crucial carries alive, because those disengage tools are so valuable. Now looking towards that Drake down in about 2k HP. Doom has got no chance of getting in there for this one. Here's that Singed. Not quite sure on that ult coming out of Stitch, by the way. They will burn their way through the one. Leon having the GA popped out, but here come the reinforcements from the top side. Another kill coming through. Clue with another ult that again's a little bit questionable. They almost get the finish off down onto the Lucian, but he walks away on a slither of HP. 2 dead on the side of NT for 1 on the side of Game Lord.
Can they defend this? Can they defend their Nexus is the real question. As the teleports are coming through, you can see Friend doing his best, just trying to knock them away with those extended range that the Senna's got. We have minion waves crashing top and mid right now. I don't think the damage output from the NT roster is good enough to kind of ward Game Lord away right now. Game Lord are in full late game double AD carry mode with a huge front line to complement them. And I don't think there's much touching this roster if you're not able to get through that front line, which at the moment it doesn't really feel like you are.
No, it's a real battle for them as well. It has been the whole game, to be fair, and we've looked at that jungle as kind of being one of the pivotal points there, where Doom has really tried to force these plays to work out, but Zephyr has constantly been there to back up his team, to provide support, to make things work out for them. And a couple of times in these fights, we've touched on the dash coming out of Leon, out of the late ults coming out of Clue, for example, the Wish shockwaves coming out of Snitch. There's just a lot of things going wrong across the team in this first game. Not quite sure why that is, and hope that it improves in game 2. But at least in game 1, I don't see a way of them fighting this one back through.
I think the question that you have to ask yourself is actually, how do you deal with the tanks on Game Lord? Like, if you have a Jarvan and a Singed sitting on you, which person on the NT roster is actually going to kill them? Like, Senna, probably not quickly anyway. Snitch, probably not quickly. And it might be up to Leon, but again, he's very kind of big, heavy burst damage, which tanks are particularly good at dealing with. You don't really have a tank shredder on this NT roster, which is making it very difficult to deal with Random, who is literally running amok through the entire back line of that NT team fight. And that's one of the problems that I think NT are facing with right now. How do you actually kill Jarvan? How do you actually kill Singed? I don't think you have a good way of doing it.
And I think especially with the Orianna, you know, being a little bit behind the build throughout much of the game, like 6k behind the Lucian at this point as well. She's really the only AP threat on this team. You could look towards Clue and say, sure, he can do a little bit, but never really enough. He's constantly trying to find that uphill battle to find a way to get through this tanky, chunky front line coming out of Game Lord. They found themselves onto a couple here, though, again coming in that sticky ground, coming out of the Singed into the toss back immediately. Zephyr onto the catch immediately after the cooldowns. They're exhausted. The health bars decimated. This one's pretty much done as NT are being torn asunder by the side of Game Lord.
Did you see in that fight, like, how much damage did Zephyr take? He took like a tickle. I think the tower did more damage to him, and that is going to be game for Game Lord. Game 1 taken convincingly, and I think if we're really going to be honest with how that game played out, I think it was genuinely draft difference. I think at the end of the day, you didn't have a good way of killing the tanky front lines. I don't think you had consistent enough tank shredders on your team. And unfortunately, if you weren't able to snowball and get ahead, you're struggling to kill the Jarvan, you're struggling to kill the Singed, and that's exactly how every team fight played out.
That's it. I know we've got a clip to look back at that in just a second as well, but obviously worth noting on there, the difficulty that Orianna to get involved, the small mistakes coming out of NT throughout really did bite them time and time again. We'll hope for a better game too, but for now, Scoundrel, I'm sorry, you've got a clip to take us through.
Yes, I want to take a look back at that Elder Dragon fight, because it kind of perfectly encapsulates what I'm talking about. First of all, you want to keep your eye on Random. He's literally, that needs to be bigger. 1 second, guys. We'll get there.
There we go. We love us a thick line. Let's go.
Yeah, Random there. He's basically by himself in the middle of the team fight. Clearly, you can see Elder is pretty much secured unless Doom can go for a steal, which really he's not in a great position to do so. So let's watch it out. If I can get rid of all the lines. Again, Random, like, they're tickling him. They are actually tickling him. They've got everybody on him. Eventually he drops, but not before the entire roster has taken like 3/4 of their HP and damage. And remember, we have another tank to work with as well in the form of Zephyr. And I think at this point, you're just seeing how strong this GLD roster is at playing front-to-back team fights. It's just incredibly good at just shoving the tanks in the front line and keeping Redemption and Yekui completely protected. I don't really see a good way of threatening Redemption and Yekui in those fights, because realistically, you have to get through the Singed and the Jarvan first, and it took so long and so many resources to get through them that you didn't have anything left in the tank for the real threats, which were the Corki and the Lucian. And in that game, that's exactly how it played out out for Game Lord. Yeah, okay, there was some silly early game antics that I think Doom didn't have the best early game of his life on the Lee Sin, but realistically, it just came down to draft difference towards the end of the game.
I think ultimately as well, we only really saw that one ace coming out at the solo point in the mid game for NT, and after that, Game Lord, they shut the door. They gave no way back in. However, there are still potentially 4 more games to go in this series. Plenty of chances for NT to try and fight back. Let's see if they can bring down the Lords themselves. It's time for game number 2. Time for game number 2 then. Ex-Scoundrel. We had a lot to talk about in that first game. The trials and tribulations coming out for NT, not quite working out the way they would have wanted. Game Lord looking incredibly dominant. And for them, that is a big deal. Again, given they finished 4th in the last Origin series, more points available in this one. That would put them right up towards the top side of the table. I believe 2nd, just behind NT, in fact. Yeah,
I think last Origin series wasn't the best for Game Lord. They didn't maybe finish as highly as they wanted to. Of course, the finals were between then Tribe Gaming, now NT, and Team Queso, which obviously NT were able to win. So I think realistically, it'll be a huge win for this team to kind of catapult themselves much further up the standings, especially because Queso did not have a great Origin series this time round, and therefore this would be a good opportunity for Game Lord to capitalize on that and try and take some scalps as they go. But NT, they have a lot in the left in the tank. They're great players. They just need to think a little bit more about the draft. I think there was too much like bait and switch going on with that draft. Like, because I think Doom and Leon share those champion pools of the Lee Sin and the Graves, I think there was a little bit too much bait and switch going on where they were trying to outthink their opponent in the draft phase rather than just drafting good champions in roles. And that, seemingly didn't have the best impact for them. But as you said, he likes to ban the Garen. That's going to get banned away. And I was actually going to mention in the previous draft, Leon previously in interviews has also said, we like to ban the Akali because I can't play against Akali. So one of the things that we get is two bans that Leon is actually wanting to ban away. But there we go. The Fiora coming through. That's an interesting ban, especially as Fiora is a key champion in Leon's champion pool.
I mean, banned away in the last fixture. The Gragas ban was the one that really excited me from Game Lord there. Quite a surprise. And that Lucian, I was going to say it in the last game, but kind of stopped short of saying it. I'm thinking it becomes pretty top prior right now because in the mid lane, it is absolutely terrifying. With that Akali being open, that could be the pick that's the response you want.
Yeah, and I think Akali coming through is an interesting one because I think Snitch plays more Akali than Leon does, but I would not be surprised to see that flexed up towards the top side. There is the Lee Sin. I have to highlight that Leon does play top lane Lee Sin. It is something, but Rakan coming through this early on in the draft is an interesting one for Game Lord. It may open up the Xayah Rakan, which it will. There we go. The Xayah gets locked in. In competitive, you generally don't tend to see Rakan without Xayah. So that will be another strong AD carry that's benefited heavily from the addition of Estus Reaver coming through here. And that'll be, again, another double AD carry comp being picked up for Game Lord.
No surprise, these big AD carry heavy comps have shone so far. Looks like for Friend, it's going to be that Ezreal coming in. Saw him play a little bit yesterday. The Brawn pairing there. Nice safety. Good. Gives them that kind of tank in the mid game that you're really looking for, or at least around that first Drake fight. Otherwise, that tank comps are looking a little bit squishy up to that point. On the other side, the Galio making itself an appearance. I'm really surprised that Graves has made it the whole way through without seeing a pick on either side.
Galio is interesting. I mean, we might see Graves now. Yeah, there we go. So again, this is an interesting one. Galio maybe mid, and that means Lucian top potentially for Game Lord. Although that would be weird because I think if you put in Galio top in this instance, you're going to get slapped. But I guess if you think that you're going into top lane Akali, then it might be a relatively good option for you. We don't see much Galio top or much Galio Baron lane. That is an interesting addition to this particular lineup. Again, because you're so far away, you're so far removed from the rest of the map, you do lose some efficacy of your ultimate, which you do like to have that roaming potential. So it's an interesting addition. I'm guessing they're predicting that Leon's taking Akali to the Baron lane, which is why we see the Galio here. But overall, it's a very similar style of draft. You've got a beefy front line to protect your double AD carry comp here from Game Lord. I expect to see a team fight played out in a very similar way.
Fingers crossed, we'll find out. Game number 2 is ready. Let's get into it. Alrighty. Game number 2. Game Lord, very dominant in that first game. We saw that one solo kill coming in for the side of NT for the longest time. Did find themselves that ace into the mid game, which did get things swinging again. But really, Game Lord has said close the door at that point and gave them no way back in. Looks like it is going to be random in the top lane playing on that Galio. So we are going to see the Lucian staying in the mid. As you say, it kind of removes away the efficacy of the ultimate, not going to be as powerful or as potent across the map as maybe you'd look to. But I guess time will tell it, Scoundrel.
Yeah, and I think also what you're seeing here is that what I predicted, I don't think Leon likes to play Akali, and so therefore it is going over to Snitch. It does mean you now have Galio into an AD matchup, which is not a great look for Galio. It'll be a rough early laning phase versus the Lee Sin. Random will have to play more defensively than he maybe would like, but I imagine this is going to be full tank Galio, so he's not expecting to go any AP in this build, and just looking to be someone that's going to soak up as much damage as physically possible in these team fights. Doom is going, and this is what I prefer, by the way. I know I said there's that flexibility between Leon and Doom going like the Lee top and the Graves jungle this time round. I do prefer Doom on the Graves. I think he just has, a bit more agency and also has a bit more ability to scale up. And Leon, he's super aggressive. He looks for big, flashy plays. He has the high mechanical skill ceiling that you'd need to make Lee Sin work. I think this is the better setup for NT overall.
Yeah, Doom as well, back on that Graves that we saw do so much work yesterday. Not too surprised. One thing I will give towards Random, he's kind of got that dilemma to make for the team here, where he really is the only AP threat on that team. That's going to come back to bite them big time if you just start seeing Leon, even Doom, starting to go towards some armor-based items. Clue especially could be absolutely huge for them in the mid-game. That's one thing that makes me slightly nervous for that Galio if he does go towards a full tank setup. See if that kind of becomes more of a hybrid style thing, although you don't really often see hybrid builds all that much.
I think sometimes you see Rod of Ages into tank, which is like a halfway house, I guess, between that kind of tanky and AP threat. We do see a lot of full tank Wukong jungles now. So this could be maybe, like I said, maybe a more hybrid offering in terms of tank versus AP from the Galio top side. And then you just have, oh my goodness.
Get nuked. See ya.
Friend just completely disrespecting the feathers.
Yeah. There was so many kind of strewn under tower there as well. And they saw the dive coming through. I think when Clue returned back, Friend was like, you know what? This ain't so bad. But look at that. Barrier on side, flash on side, not even able to react. And as you say, disrespecting those feathers.
Yeah, not a good look getting killed in a 2v2, especially at this level of play. Not what you'd be after. Okay, it will be Rod of Ages Galio. I just saw the catalyst at Aeons get picked up into his kit. There's, if his friend uses the dash, he's got loads of, he just disrespects the feathers. He walks straight into their path. He could have flashed, he could have used barrier, just, not expecting that damage output from Redemption, I don't think.
No, it's like we said earlier on as well, right? Like, it's silly to think that you won't see errors at this level of play. We saw Leon's dash forward in the previous game that cost him his life and ultimately his team-to-team fight. Small things like that will happen. And for Friend there, a small miscalculation. Won't jump on his back too much because we'll see what he can do as the game begins to progress. Stepping towards this next point where the ult's coming through on the bot side, but an easy cleanup here with Zephyr getting himself involved in the bot lane.
Yeah, another pickup for them on the bottom side of the map. Clue and Friend have definitely been the targets here. And you can see that Doom has made his way down, got a decent level set behind him. He's been kind of hyper farming his way in the jungle, as you do expect a Graves to do. He's got loads of his own jungle left up and available to go and clear now as well. And of course, one of those new things that have come from patch 2.4 is that, decision-making process between the Rift Herald and the Dragon. We have some teams, seen some teams like Na'Vi, for instance, really prioritize Rift Herald as a first take. And some teams, like we saw in the previous game, swear by going for the Dragon still at that 4-minute mark. That does open up some tactical options on the map. Clue. I mean, Clue. Was there any reason for you to be there? Like, you were way past your own minion wave. I guess he was trying to stop the backs, but I'm not sold. I'm not gonna lie, not sold.
One thing I will give to this, by the way, I noticed that yesterday when we were casting as well, at the minute every single jungle camp is permanently up. So even when they've killed buffs, they're always online. It makes it quite confusing to know what the hell's on and what's not, but we'll just play it by ear and see what buffs people walk out of the jungle with. Now this is essentially moving up towards that top side. In fact, is this double being done? No, one on the top side for Game Lord. Can Doom get up there in time is now the big question.
True Shot Barrage does come through. No AD carries on that side of the map. And you can see Snitch goes in and there's Leon.
Oh, he's trying to do what he can here. Show going pretty low, but going in with a knock-up on the backside as well. Clue, frontline like a real champ here. Leon's in there as well. Gets away in a slither of HP. Not even taken down. Yeku incredibly low. Snitch, he's the one on full HP here. But either way, both teams just step away. Sure, some bruised and battered members, but no one going down in that skirmish.
Yeah, Redemption has made his way up towards this top side of the map, though, so he'll be here to try and complement this Rift Herald push coming out. I think they should be able to secure it. You can see that Friend is backing, didn't try and go for a bot lane tier 1, and I think there was actually a missed opportunity for NT. I think NT could have actually taken the Rift Herald when it was on low HP, but they chose to be more aggressive and push into the blue side jungle looking for kills. But I think there was an opportunity to secure the Rift Herald, and I think they missed it.
It's one of those they may look back on en route a little later on. It is only a 1.5k gold lead, but it's going to be about the use of that Rift Herald is the one that we'll be looking for from the side of Game Lord to see how much further they can extend that lead. At this point, all towers still alive across the map as well. No early aggressive players coming out to try and force those down. No split pushing on the go when we saw either of those objectives being started. So I imagine you will see that first tower being the main focus of that Herald for the next few minutes.
And I think it also may set up for the second Drake. I mean, we saw that in the previous game. We saw the fact that Game Lord waited until that second Drake spawned. They dropped it top to create pressure on the side that's furthest away from that dragon, and then they used that to keep Leon attached to the top lane, which then allowed them to go for the second dragon for free. So that could be something that we see them do as well. But of course, if it does present an opportunity, especially on the mid lane tier 1, you will probably see them drop it earlier, because obviously that mid lane tier 1 is incredibly impactful, as well as the first tower blood coming through as well.
And that Black Cleaver now being finished off by the Wukong as well. Shreds through teams in the fights with that ultimate online. Armor reduction galore, the way that you look at it. Not that there's always going to strictly be a ton of armor on the other side this early into the game, but it's more about how it enables those on his team, mainly looking towards Redemption and Yeku there playing on those two AD carries.
And that's one thing that I think that you have to be worried about again if you're NT. I don't think you have a team fight that is as capable again of dealing with the amount of CC and front to back style that Game Lord have got. One thing that you do have in your favor, you correctly mentioned, is there isn't a significant AP threat here. A tower dive will be coming through. Flash comes out very early.
Random. Already catching on Clue as well from the Winter's Bite, but not enough to finish him off. Now it's Doom behind enemy lines in deep trouble. Dr. Doom himself falling down pretty comfortably there. Almost a bit of an overcommitment coming through from NT.
It was. He said almost. It literally just was. I think realistically, you burn the flash of Random. He goes very, I think he'll get away from this. I mean, Snitch is behind enemy lines right now.
I mean, even Yeku's in the front line here trying to do what he can. Look how low he is. The shield coming through. Redemption, the back line, one feather would be enough, but Leon's walking away on literally a slither of HP.
That's absolutely ridiculous. Very, very good reactions to include to get that shield up to protect Leon at the very last moment there. But I think, going back to that tower dive, it was an overextension. I think you burn the flash of Random away from the tower. You leave it at that. You back off and try and take as many plates as you can from that tower. We'll take a look back here. Okay, so yeah, look. Random knows what's up, flashes away, that's it. I think you should leave it. I think he's walking away from his tower at that point. I think it's very difficult to commit when you don't have a minion wave. And it was a big overcommit because they didn't have the minion wave either. And without the minion wave, it makes it 10 times harder to facilitate these dives, and unfortunately they were punished for it. This is that little play. Not much to really analyze here. I think just some good uses of barriers.
As well.
Yeah, good uses and barriers and a great shield coming out from Clue, but not a huge amount extra to analyze there.
It's again one of the other cases, I think, with Doom, where he's really keen to be this playmaker like he was in the series yesterday. Get the game rolling, really take the ball by the horns and run away with it. But the side of Game Lord, they're clued up to that. They know what they're doing. They're just able to react and deal with it. Again, that reactivity that we saw in the previous game was the one that we touched on. Zephyr just had his number no matter where he was always present to be able to respond to Doom's plays. And while it hasn't quite snowballed to the same level, now we're looking towards this charge coming in from the Herald. Nice chunk down. Drake's still online. I wonder if we now get to see the Lucian and the Lee Sin also roam down. That appears to be the case.
Yeah, I think you need the Lucian here if you are going to be successful in the fight for Game Lord, and you can see that NT are smelling that. They want to make that fight happen. They have got a good, ability to, rather they're breaking up the fight right now for Game Lord, because Lucian is being forced to take the long way around. True Shot Barrage lands on everybody. Here comes the fight.
Okay, a big engage at the back of it as well. Great knockups coming in onto the other side, but the health bars stay pretty high for the side of NT. They managed to burn their way almost through one. Show the first one going down. Triple kill coming out of the fight as well. Big double execute coming through for the Akali. Health bars go low. Redemption's trying to do what he can, but he can only finish off the one. Great flash over the wall, but he's solo and caught up by the Q from the Ezreal. That's a clean sweep coming through for NT.
I need to see that again. What the hell happened for Snitch to get that kind of setup? Ridiculous. He's gone for the very, very... Let's take a look back. Right, okay. Great kick from Leon. Beautiful kick. Kicks a very high HP target, gets a lot of initial damage down. That's an initial pick off by Snitch. He's over the wall here. He has that second setup. And there we go. Yeah, 2 low health numbers. That was so well played from Snitch. You don't get... I think it's so difficult to pilot Akali properly in coordinated play, but he's done it so well here, and I think a big win for NT on the back of that second Dragon fight. Huge start to the fight from Leon, though. I've got to credit him for that Lee Sin kick. He did a lot of initial damage to kick things off by kicking one of the highest HP targets through the team, therefore maximizing the damage output that the kick's going to provide. but a huge setup. And as well as that build for Snitch, by the way, this is a very common Akali build. It really does prioritize a heavy amount of burst. I think he might be dead here, Yekwi.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much dead. When you've got 4 or 5 members all converging on your location, all with ultimates on side, you're not walking away alive.
Are they going to try and go for Baron here? I mean, there is a mid lane push coming out from Game Lord, but I don't think they're going to have it in them to take it.
I think at this point they back away because Clue's coming in with the ultimate. One towards the front, Zephyr being caught out with it, and the Winter Spite followed through, but not enough to see him being caught out for too long and dropped down. Of course, worth looking at that tower count that we've now got sitting up for either side, by the way. 2 to NT, 1 to Game Lord, as we're about to find yet another go in the way of NT. This is where they can potentially start taking control of this game as they now build up a 2k gold lead.
Yeah, it's another big push onto this mid lane tier 1 here. You can see the Game Lord are desperate to try and get that down, but they're going to be forcing a fight that they might not want.
Oh, Stitch in the back line as well, got the ultimate on, but no one quite low enough to make the execute really count for anything here. Zephyr going in towards the front, trying to bring down Doom, but not enough connecting damage. Redemption taking an absolute chunk from Stitch in the front, but it's going to be a kill coming in for the Ezreal. So 1 kill to NT, and they stave off the attackers.
They are slowly getting to grips with this game, and I think one of the great additions to this particular comp is that Akali. Akali can ignore front lines, get past them, and threaten the back lines, and I think that's what we've seen Snitch do successfully in 2 major team fights so far. Watch this again. Very heavy commit to this mid lane tier 1. They really want it, and you can see Snitch looks for his opportunity, waits and waits and waits. Yeah, exactly. Redemption as well. Overextends here. Snitch finds his angle and it dives onto him. Great Mystic shot to kind of catch him on the come down of that Featherstorm coming out from Friends. There was a well-timed Mystic shot that actually secures the kill, but you could see Snitch waits for his moment. He doesn't care about the Wukong. He doesn't care about the Galio. He just waits for his opportunity to dive into the backline and threaten Redemption or threaten Yekwi. And that's why I like this Akali addition to this roster. It deals with the double AD carry comp much better than their previous front-to-back attempt that they had.
So Random's acknowledged as well, as we spoke about in the early game, that they need some AP threat on this team. So no tank coming through here. Full gung-ho on the Gallios. The death cap going to be the second item coming out. Looking on towards that other side, it's being matched up at least for now by Snitch, and we've seen what he can do in a couple of these fights. Those items on side, he's going to be ripping through those squishies.
And I think actually we're in a good spot overall for NT. And also, I don't know if you feel the same way, but I can feel the difference mechanically for Leon on this Lee Sin. I'm not saying that Doom isn't gifted mechanically, but Leon is kind of known as one of the best mechanical players in Europe, and he's just finding these angles. He's just playing these team fights that much better than I've seen most of the Lee Sins play, and he's adding something extra to these team fights for NT on this pick.
It's so different after yesterday where he was playing the more passive roles on the Gragas as well. And then he even said in the interview, you know, a few times I was just there and people died and I didn't have to do anything. I just had to walk into a fight and mash a button a few times and that was my role done. Whereas it was down to my teammates to really drag things through. And I look at it and just think for Doom, the word that is always going to spring to mind for him in future for me is over-aggressive. He loves to be that playmaker. He loves to get in the front line. Yes, it has calmed down a little bit in this game. He got punished the one time that he did go over-aggressive, but here's Zephyr doing a little bit of over-aggressiveness of his own, charging in with the ultimate, barely any health bars, dropping low. Show's going in for the support, instantly stunned out on the other side. Clue, amazing counter-engage. The ultimate lands across every single member of the side of Game Lord, everyone being burnt down. Low health bars on the side of NT, but no one yet falling. Random down to a slither of HP. Save throw for the Xayah. In goes Friend. He finds one, makes it a fourth. Don't think he'll quite find the last, gets the triple in the fight. And now you're going to see NT turn towards the Baron.
Game Lord thought they had an opportunity. They saw Doom away from the team. They made that instantaneous engage. The Galio ultimate layered over the top of the Wukong, but they couldn't find it successfully. They weren't able to make a convincing enough engage to land the damage necessary. A great kite back, as you said. I think the Braum was such an intelligent pick here, and you're going to see why exactly in this scenario. Braum shield up. Can't land that double AD carry damage into the backline. And look at that ultimate. How disgusting was that Braum ultimate to find the re-engage when Doom was in the fight and you saw Snitch just able to pick off people on the front line as well. And then Friend, finally, when those late HP's bars are ready, he can find those aggressive arcane shifts and clean up the fight. But you're just seeing the power of the Braum in this particular comp as well, just providing that protection against the double AD carries. Another engage comes through.
Yeah, Zephyr again, just doing it all over again here. Wants to get himself in deep. Leon, my mind's telling me no, my body's not quite telling me yes. He says not quite following it through onto Random in the back line, sitting down at low HP. I do want to touch on Friend and Clue for a second. Let's not forget in the early game, both of them died in that 2v2 in the bot lane. Well, Clue, I guess, more in the 3 versus 2. They didn't have a good start to this game, but are making such high impact between them on the team fights in this game, and that is where NT really shine.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think Gamelord were able to turn the screw enough on that bot side of the map. And, you know, one death in the early game, it's not great, but it's not awful either, right? Oh, my word. Did Doom just find the kill? He did.
He just tower dove. Yeah, he tower dove to get the kill solo onto a Lucy, and that's what you want to see. Will pay for it with his life. But this should be where there's a bit of bite back maybe coming in for the side of NT. Going in, GA mode out being popped out here onto the Zephyr. Sorry, not that. The stone plate coming through, I meant to say. They've burnt through this bottom tower as well. Top tower's being burnt down. Mid still stands, but is also down to about a third HP. NT are just all over this game at this point. The only thing they're missing is a few minions to close the game.
Yeah, and you can see that Gamelord tried to run an exact copy of their previous comp. They tried to play tanky frontline, double AD carry, front to back, but this time it was an adaptation from NT as they take the game, and deservedly so, because I think they brought the right answers in the draft. A mobile AD carry that can get away from the engage, Braum to protect against the double AD carry threat from the backline. It means that you don't instantaneously get that damage burst off, and it means you can find the reset and the re-engage. Snitch, who can circumvent the front line to threaten the backline, and then you have Doom and Leon, who are able to just make individual plays as well. I think there were better answers from NT in the draft, and you could clearly see it in the way they executed this time round.
Yeah, for me, a lot of it came down to Doom as well. I know in the previous game, we saw him at 1 and 4 in the early game, being caught out a lot for that over-aggression, and we saw flickers of aggression in this game, but already what we're seeing, the kind of narrative forming between Doom and between Zephyr, is Zephyr's kind of sat in a spot where, again, he's quite reactive, not really the one to be the big playmaker. Admittedly, on the Wukong, you're waiting for that level 5 more than anything else, but Doom had just the right amount this game where he was still getting involved, making things happen around the map, but wasn't finding himself being caught out as much.
Yeah, and I think also with Graves, you're a bit more of a passive jungler. Like, you are just there to soak up as much golden experience as you can. Yeah, okay, as you said, there was some over-aggressive plays. Like in this particular instance, you didn't really have the information to go for aggressive
really,
towers. Yeah, but I think Doom just able to have much more impact on a carry like this, whereas Leon can make the more flashy in plays, the flashy engages and the Lee Sin, which we were able to see him do time and time again. But, I think the big story was more just the compositional play, and this was a beautiful team fight. Snitch, got to be honest, I think Snitch was an absolute beast this game. I think everybody had a much better time this in this particular game for NT, but Snitch, massive on the Akali, had a lot of work to do in these team fights, but he stepped up to the role excellently.
It's one of those that you look at, I think. The Akali is where I get really frustrated, is like, she's kind of invisible for much of the game. She's not the big, flashy, bam, I've got a big ult to come in and just nuke everyone on the team. She's there that kind of appears in a mid-game team fight. There's a few low health bar members, and suddenly they're gone. And it's like, what the bloody hell just happened there? Either way, game 3 is ready. Let's get into it. Here we go again, basically a reset into a best of 3 with either team taking one game very decisively each as well. So we'll see how things play out now with the full reset coming in. Will we see that aggression from Doom coming back to bite them, or will we see Zephyr finally finding the answer to have something to do with Doom on the other side? Pick and ban's ready at Scoundrels, so how about we get straight into it?
And pick and ban has been so incredibly important, I think, Derry, across both of these games. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think NT had the better answers on red side. I think they adapted super well. I think they understood how to deal with a tank double AD carry, composition that GLD was building. And I think, Yekwi and Redemption are both great AD carry players. I can understand why Gamelord are prioritizing a double AD carry comp for themselves, but I think the Corki was the better option. And the reason I think the Corki was the better option is he's 80% magic damage. All of his basic attacks, most of his skills, it's magic damage. It gives you the mixed damage profile that you were talking about. And you mentioned it's too easy for Braum to itemize when your 2 major damage threats are a Lucian and an Azaya, and we saw in that game that they weren't quite as effective. Similar bans, but Wukong changed up here. It is a very popular European jungler that is going to get banned away, and this time on blue side, they don't want to first pick the Akali. They're not confident in its efficacy here, and we'll see the Fiora ban for Gamelord at the end.
It's interesting because it felt like they were starting to find an answer to Zephyr's Wukong as well. And really, the onus is on Gamelord here to be the ones who adapt. They're the ones who lost the previous fixture and need to come up with some new ideas. All the picks open. That grey still here that will look towards.
Sorry, Derry, what's going on with my hair? Holy moly! You
know what you've done? You've done what I do sometimes, where you pull it forward and your hair kind of just.
I've given myself like a Johnny Bravo quiff.
Oh, mama.
oh, baby. Wait a second. I'm fixing it. Okay,
Here we
ready,
go.
ready.
Oh,
There
you
we
got
go.
the hairband. Look,
I've got the
I'll tell you,
hairband,
this
mate,
is truly
yeah.
2021.
I've got the
I'm normally
hairband.
the same, but I've got something called a headband for my headset now, which is doing it for me. You know
Okay,
what, though?
we're good.
We're missing a whole draft phase here.
I'm
Three
sorry,
80
mate. I'm
carries
sorry.
already locked in
I
the
had a
first four
huge
picks.
quiff,
It's
and
fine.
it was just all over the place. I couldn't look at it anymore, mate. Right,
I
double
forgive
80
you.
carry for NT this time around, but they pick up the Braum alongside. Looks like Game Lord are responding with the Ezreal and the Orianna here, so they're going for like a more of an NT draft one, but I love the addition of the Ezreal because it gives you some more mobility. It gives you some more flexibility of the way that you're approaching these team fights. They're taking the Lee Sin for that disengaging kick, maybe to isolate an AD carry if they get a good flank opportunity. Basically triple AD carry coming out from NT with the Graves being added in here. Very interesting draft from NT. And then the Xin Zhao at the end.
Okay. Leon top, then that's going to be the Xin Zhao surely going into the jungle. But saying that, we did see quite a bit of Xin Zhao in the top lane yesterday. Real good scrapper in the early game, especially once you start looking towards that first item or two coming online and the Sona coming through as the final pick. Feels like a very old school comp coming up for Game Lord at Scoundrel. Yeah,
the Sona picked up here because it is a relatively safe pick into Braum. Like, if you're able to keep your distance, you're not going to get punished too hard by the Braum unless he can land a Winter's Bite. You are always running that risk. If he lands a Winter's Bite, you could be in trouble. But overall, if you can you can play behind the minions, you don't get caught out too heavily, then I think, Sona is a relatively solid pick. It offers a lot of scaling. It offers a hell of a lot of scaling for Game Lord. Like, you have Orianna, Ezreal, Sona, like incredible late game teamfight scaling here. With I'm imagining a tank Gragas and a Lee Sin jungle. You've got to be careful though. I'm very interested in NT's comp. That's hyper damage, but not much to absorb apart from the Braum. If you get to late game for NT, I don't think you get matched in terms of damage output. And that's what I think Game Lord will have to be a little concerned about, but they have a lot of sustain with the Sona built in, so that might give them the edge. I think it's too difficult to call. I think both of these teams want to scale. Both of these teams want to get to late game. And I think it really is going to come down to how they end up executing these team fights.
I'm looking towards the Sin and just thinking that ultimate's going to be massive. We saw it from a player called Risk yesterday. I believe it was in the Cut versus Sunlight series. Constantly being the front line of Fallen by knocking everyone out. And they were like, well, we can't exactly get close again. It just pushed us all back. And the damage was, well, negligible, thanks to that ultimate and the way it works for the Xin. So we'll see just what impact he has and, of course, where these picks go. Let's get into game number 3. See how this one shakes down. Alrighty, so taking the first quick look, it is Leon in the top lane and Doom going back onto that Xin. Quite a historic pick in the Origin series, especially for Doom, it feels like. For those who didn't watch June, he was one of the first junglers in the whole competition to pioneer bringing this along, running a lot of things like the Blade of the Ruined King into the Black Cleaver, for example, and was generally just an absolute nightmare on the Xin Zhao. But I think he's coming up against Zephyr here on that Lee Sin. Wants a little bit of early game aggression. Less reactive, more proactive coming out of the Lee. This, for me, is going to be where Zephyr can really define himself in this series and say, you know what? Doom is not the only playmaker present.
Yeah, I think Doom likes the Xin Zhao into Lee Sin matchup, though. He's pretty happy with taking trades, on that particular jungle matchup, which is why he actually pioneered it in the first place, because he was sick of playing Lee Sin in solo queue and wanted an answer. So he actually quite liked the Xin Zhao pickup. But I'm interested to know whether we see a difference in build path for Doom, whether we see that kind of bruisery Blade of the Ruined King Black Cleaver build that we saw previously, or whether some of the new items like an Essence Reaver, like a full damage Xin Zhao could come out. That's something that I was talking to him about before he jumped into this series. I was saying, what are you going to play in the jungle, mate? And I was saying, you're going to play Xin Zhao? He said, I'm not going to tell you. So I'm just very interested to see where he goes with this. A level 2 gank onto the bot side of the map here, trying to punish that Sona very early on. Hasn't worked out, but now Leon might be in trouble.
I mean, definitely. He's got the barrier, he's got the flash on side, but he's caught on the wrong side of this one, trying to play around the minis. Instead, there's some good dancing back and forth, but unfortunately going to find absolutely nothing for it. I mean, we saw this in the previous game when Zephyr came up to give a little bit of assistance onto that top side against the Graves, and here, it results in first blood.
Yeah, Doom revealed himself on the map too early on here with a level 2 gank. Hasn't taken too many of his camps away. And as you said, Leon just attempting to use the minion wave in his favor, trying to at least trade 1-for-1 at the end, went for the flash as well. A little overconfident in his damage output at this stage in the game, and has also burnt a pretty key summoner that he could have kept hold of. And it looks like we're going to get a vertical jungle split as well, with Zephyr going for this blue side invade and Doom responding in kind, going for the blue side jungle invade of his own.
Yeah, looking towards random here and just thinking, okay, well, that level 5 is going to hit a bit sooner. You got both sums online. They can line up here to try and make a play. It could be absolutely massive. You've got the level 5 already coming in into Zephyr, and that dash forward is all they need. That's the go sign. Surely Snitch is going to be the target. No, they commit instead towards Doom, who's caught red-handed. Down he goes. Oh, good flash away from Snitch. Almost found himself not bad towards the team, but yet another kill coming through for Game Lord.
Yeah, Game Lord just able to punish the gank. They had set up a good counter gank with both Zephyr and Random there, and Doom just got punished for overextending and looking to make a play onto Yekui early on. Snitch definitely wanted to be more aggressive in this laning phase, try and punish the Orianna, and Doom gets caught out. Top side dominance here for Game Lord. They have got complete control of that area of the map.
Spoke about that proactivity coming in for Zephyr. Was he going to be finding himself waiting until level 5? The answer, apparently no. Getting himself involved on the top side, taking the buff, then moving down towards the mid lane. Really good start for him. Not so much the same story for NT. Oh, goodbye.
Okay, Doom returns and gets his revenge, it looks like, and Snitch able to pick up a kill on that Orianna. That's an important advantage that you want to try and give that way. You can see this bot lane is kind of struggling right now for both Clue and Friend. It is a rate lane that is rough to deal with because of the range that they have, and if Braum can't find an aggressive engage onto the Sona, then you are going to start to struggle in terms of out-sustained and outranged and out-poked realistically in that laning phase, and you can see that Friend and Clue just having to play on the back foot for the time being.
Yeah, I think you summarized it really well there. The poke lane coming in from Redemption Show, just doing a lot of damage to them without really any response. And now that Friends hit level 5, sorry. League PC coming to mind for you there. Now that it's hit the level 5, sorry, with that ultimate online, sure, he can give it back a little bit. He can start snapping back when he needs to, but is it really going to be enough to deal with a Sona and an Ezreal? Probably not.
No, it's more the Sona, right? I think for the Ezreal is a little difficult to get hold of, right? That's the harder part of that bot lane. I think for the most part, if you're ever going to sort of attempt to do anything towards the bot lane for Game Lord, you have to kind of focus down the Sona. That was your question, right?
Around that, yeah.
Yeah. I was asking myself, was Derry asking that? I couldn't quite work it out. But yeah, I think realistically you're safe as Redemption. That's why you've picked it up in this comp. Like, you have a lot of flexibility. Ezreal is probably the safest AD carry in the game. We are going to see a Rift Herald for a Dragon trade here, which is again something that we talked about, the breadth of tactics that are now offered because both of these objectives spawn. But this is an aggressive play.
Yeah, they're saying forget about the bot side here. We don't need to stack all of us on that one. 1 or 2 is enough. And they've even managed to force Game Lord off it, because Game Lord didn't commit all 5. You had Yeku running around towards the bot side. They're going to be able to take away both major buffs here at Scoundrel.
That's a huge play for NT, actually. I didn't think they were going to be able to do it, but they actually utilized that package really well. I think it's one of the things that you have to be willing to be aggressive on Corki with. It's such a huge neutral objective tool. Like that package is of key importance in terms of like gaining control of these big neutral objectives. And as you said, because because Game Lord had just committed to the top side here, and I think NT knew about it. They were just able to completely leave Doom by his own self with absolutely no threat of a steal coming through on that Dragon, and they were able to commit a lot of resources to protecting that Rift Herald from going down, because Rift Herald does take longer than Dragon to go down in general, because you have to kind of wait for that eye to expose itself to do the majority of the damage. It was very easy then for NT to get back up towards that top side of the map and then just kind of force them out of the pit with that Corki package, which is what we saw.
Too much more balance in this game already, I'll mention as well. Yes, we're about 6 minutes in. It's not super far ahead in terms of game progress, but look at the two teams gold-wise here. About 200 gold sat between them right now. You're looking towards both and saying, okay, well, who scales better here? I kind of worry for the mid-game. Once Yeku gets himself some item stats up behind that Shockwave, that's when you're really going to start having trouble on the side of NT, especially given you've got 380 carries rolling around here. But the big advantage you have got is there's a lot of mobility, lots of dodgeability, you might want to call it if you wish. Leon, though, going to have to flash as well as go for the dodge here in this CC. Far too much. One knockback, second knockback. No man's going anywhere. It's like a pinball up here in the top lane. Should find himself going down. Oh, Random. So close to going down, but will keep himself alive. Try the skin of his teeth.
Yeah, but Yekui actually goes down in the mid lane. A lot of resources committed by Snitch, Doom, and Clue, but they will get the mid lane tier 1 for it without having to drop the Rift Herald either, which is a huge win for NT overall. You can see how many resources the Game Lord are piling into shutting Leon down, but great for NT to be able to just respond in other areas of the map.
Probably see what happened in the mid lane here as well. I mean, the Orianna did have the flash on side, but eats a full call into the face almost here as well. Then in comes Doom, flashes straight onto that one. The easy dive coming out with the ult to close things off. And they turn their attention towards the tower. And even with the flash on side, still confident enough to go for the dive. Orianna famously one of the most difficult champions to be playing safely in a lane when that flash is down. And repeat on the top side of this double knockback.
Yeah, she's actually probably one of the worst champions in the game when you don't have flash. It's just so easy to get on top of and very, very difficult for her to escape. So as you said, very good commit from GLD. Let's take a look at the builds then. Again, it looks like it's going to be a Black Cleaver build from Doom, so very similar to his old Origin series build that we saw in the previous time he kind of had this outing. More of a facilitator for both Leon and Snitch, rather than being, you know, a major damage threat in his own right. But of course, if he goes for that Blade of the Ruin King following this, he will be a significant damage threat. Now he's waiting around on this top side of the map here.
Going for the knockback immediately as well. The missile coming out of random, but he just walks away like, yeah, and what? However, it's the Lee Sin Zephyr that's been caught in the middle of this one. Might find himself popped down. No HP. The flash forward from Snitch. They'll also catch out Random, who died with both the flash and the barrier online, opting to burn neither. Now, the Orianna, as we spoke, should not be stepping forward onto this one. She is not in a safe spot if she gets engaged on.
Oh, my word. Look at this. They are turning the heat up here, NT. Just going from strength to strength, tower diving, taking down these towers in both the mid and top lane in quick succession. Take a look back here at Doom again, just trying to find the edge on Random. That was, again, as you said, a big miss ult from him. A big, I would say an overcommit from Zephyr, realistically, actually, to that fight. And Snitch with a great rotate, catches them under tower, and they're able to take out 2 members for nothing. And of course, Yekui can't get back into the fight at this point. He's too far away in a 3 versus 1. Orianna's not going to win that.
The Drake comes online as well, as I've now grown that gold lead that was dead even about 5 minutes ago, completely up to a 4K gold lead they currently sit on top of here. This Drake now being started up, basically a whole item advantage. NT the first ones to it, going to go for an attempted steal, eaten up by the Unbreakable out of the Braum. The Corky friend over the other side of the pit here, do get away with it, but there's a couple caught in the pit. Can Clue get out? Yes, he can. A flash over from Doom, a dash away, stand behind me coming through. Nice and simple for NT, and that was in a 4 versus 5 at Scoundrel, because on the top side, we've seen Leon chew through a tower, get the Rift Herald down, and even likely have it connect into the inhibitor tower.
Yeah, and he's going to get a plate from that, so the plate god goes his way as well. Looks like Doom caught out, kick comes through.
Just enough to keep him alive, I think. Stone plate, nothing really to worry about there. Combo and damage has been done. Knows he doesn't get a kill. There it's more about saving his own life. Under the bot lane, though, potentially a dive coming in. Look at that damage coming out of Friend here. 1 HP on the Stoner, but now he's going to find himself cleaned up, no doubt, by Zephyr. Energy just about there to finish that one off. He trades his life back out. A killing spree coming in for Doom. They want to dive for that one. It's going to be a kill coming out for Snitch. They commit all the way. And now Random, there's even up more than he can shoot. Cullen coming through. Not going to connect all the way on. As down goes Snitch, almost dangerously low, but not quite low enough that he gets himself finished off. Why is Leon being left alone on the top side again?
Oh my gosh. They've just given Leon a inhibitor tower on the top side of the map at 9 minutes into the game. A 7K gold lead for NT. If NT throw this game, this has got to be the biggest throw I've ever seen. They have got so many resources in their back pockets, so many win conditions already activated. They are looking on fire in this game right now.
It's insane. I mean, looking towards the goal difference we saw just a second ago, I think the smallest we've got is 500 in the 80 carries. But as you go progressively further and further up the board, the gold lead just grows greater and greater for the side of NT. A massive lead they've established themselves in now. And for Game Lord, no doubt starting to scratch their heads and think, well, we're down 7K, guys. Where does the fight back come in against a triple 80 carry comp?
You do have the scaling, though. You've got the Sona, the Ezreal, and also the Orianna. It's going to take time to get there. It would have to be an overconfident play from NT in order for them to lose out on this. Maybe something. Yeah, exactly. He is being left alone again. A little bit slow to the chase here from Random, and it means another tower will drop in the favor of NT. I'm envisioning it's going to have to be some kind of crazy Baron throw here. If NT wants to end up dropping, maybe a steal coming through, and looks like Snitch is overextended. Hasn't the Sonic Wave attached to him right now?
Yeah, I mean, goes back in as well. Almost gets the finish up onto Zephyr, who's burning. Will finally get finished out, even with the 3-man there. It's still a trade coming back in. Snitch now picking up the Infinity Edge.
They are trying to get on to Scarlet, who will drop.
Yeah. I mean, you're 1v1ing in a Zinzao. What do you expect as a Sona, if not actually the most immobile champion in the game? On the bottom side, Leon wins the 1 versus 1. You cannot be affording that against the split pusher, because he's now going to absolutely terrorize either your jungle or that bot lane tower. JQ with no choice has to leave this Baron all to the side of NT. That lead now at 10K is only going to grow further in the coming minutes.
Is Zephyr going to get here in time to steal this? It's getting dropped pretty low. I don't think he will.
I mean, it's taking quite a while.
It is taking quite a while. Leon! Oh, no, they get it just in time. Zephyr has to flash back over the wall here as he committed a little too hard with the safeguard. As you said, little edgy for Leon. Yeah, a little edgy for Leon here.
The thing is, the Orianna doesn't really have... Oh, okay, now this is a big one. Going up. What the flash forward is so aggressive. Almost gets the kill, but the Zhonya's comes out. One more tick would have been enough, but knows he's got to flee. No way you get away from Random. Goes in with the flash dunk onto the head. It's as simple as that. I've got to look towards JQ, though, here is Scoundrel. Still only got one item, but as soon as that Ceres, which he's now picked up, comes online, starts building towards the death cap, he's really going to start swinging.
Yeah, he does need to be. That's something we have to be keeping our eyes on, of course. As you said, it is a huge item spike for Yekui if he can get there. And Leon going down, he's a huge threat. He has a load of damage. Wait, is this just a big engage coming out from Zefta?
Trying to go all the way into the back, I think, but Clue being the front line that he is on this Brawl, taking basically no damage from anything that Game Lord can throw out. On the top side, a massively stacked wave crashes into the Nexus. Game Lord with no choice but to respond, and they lose almost half HP off that Nexus already. Big fight in front of the tower, though. One coming through for Redemption. Okay, a little bit of breathing room being created for Game Lord here. Can they find one more? Shockwave onto Doom. Not enough to bring him down or create the opportunity. Friend, he's out of mana. They know. They smell blood. They're going all the way in. Nothing can be done. Zefta dangerously, though, snitch in. Gets the wrong target. He shoots onto Redemption. He's going to lose his life as well. It's Doom all alone. Game Lord somehow have managed to drag this one back. Do they know about Leon?
Look at
Finds
Leon.
one. Could he find two? Goes in for the second. The ult comes out. Random also going down. No more to be found, but that is one way to give your team a little bit of breathing room. Absolute insanity in the mid to late game at Scoundrel.
I'm going to be honest with you. NT absolutely greeded for that mid lane inhibitor tower. They did not need to be that aggressive. They have time on their side. They had that Baron buff. They could have waited for Leon to get back in the fight. Goodness gracious, again, look, massive overkill from Doom here. He didn't actually have a lot of protection on the front line, and they weren't able to stick that Braum shield up in time to prevent, a lot of damage coming through. And at this point, you just have a man advantage. You have a lot of ways to force the fight here. Attempted kite back, as we saw. And unfortunately, Friend gets caught out by Zefta. As you're right, though, Snitch, unfortunately, lands that basic attack, lands that Lightbringer basic attack onto Redemption, and isn't able to find that killing blow onto the Lee Sin, although Zefta does overstep here, and Leon is able to pick up a double kill in the end. Just about managed to claw something back from that fight, but it was a big overextend realistically for NT. They did not need to make a play like that. They had so much time on their hands.
Third Drake coming in as well for the side of NT. Doom, I'm pretty sure, doesn't want to lurk around here for too long without support, but support is arriving. 3 currently sat in front of them. Clue just enough there to ward them backwards, stepping back towards their inhibitor tower. Their attention's turned towards the bot lane one.
Yeah, they can't be over aggressive though, because Leon isn't on Leon isn't on an area of the map where he's able to, create pressure elsewhere. That's what I don't want to see from NT. I don't want to see them do that same thing where they just went way too hard on a tower without Leon on the other side to create some pressure in the meantime. He has now entered into the mid lane, but again, just not able to do a huge amount for NT. NT, they have a massive gold lead right now. Like, they should be winning every fight convincingly. But the one thing that I will mention is that we've got Seralda's Grudge finished up for Redemption. That is a really big item spike for the Ezreal. And so expect him to be a major threat in some of these coming team fights.
I know about Leon. The man needs to sell his iPhone and buy a tractor. He's just turned into a go-to farmer at this point. Wants to be on the bot side while everyone else looks to focus on the Baron. They've got that 4 versus... Supposed to be kind of squaring up to be a 3. The pressure coming in from Leon on the other side is keeping them busy, but now we're seeing that push coming in. Trying to look towards the fight here. The ultimate coming out from the Ezreal. Leon gets back to business in the bot lane. The question is, how long can NT keep this team busy before someone has to rotate away? Apparently, the answer is not long, as Random, who died solo in the 1 versus 1 before, has gone to meet him. Is he going to solo him here? Either side could get the kill, but misses the ult onto Random. That could have been the play they were looking for. Leon, slither of HP, is going to find himself backing away.
He's got Protep out. He's looking to outplay here, but we have that Baron going on. This is a little bit messy right now for NT. I don't want to see them commit too hard because Leon has got a slight edge on that top side of the map right now. Oh, or the bottom side, rather.
GA2. Oh, in there comes the play coming in the queue, straight into the tower. Takes a couple of tower shots for it. That could have been the difference maker. No GA or anything of the sorts on the side of Random. This Baron now down to about 5k HP. NT backing away, not wanting to commit too hard. The Sona's been seen in mid lane. They could try and force something here, but Leon should be going down. No, walks away still on about 1 HP with the GA in the back pocket.
Oh, so many times Leon could have found that execute onto Random, but the end of the line just went straight into the tower last time round as well. Misses the ultimate on the first one, end of the line, fluffs on the second one. Just needs to find that one opportunity. If Leon can just open up that side of the map, that is what NT need to secure this game. And you can see that they are not willing to commit. They're not willing to flip a Baron at this stage in the game without Leon having that create that pressure on that side of the map.
Interrupt on the back there as well. It was coming through for Clue. Just to scheme around for a couple more seconds, goes back to wall clearing duties before I imagine he'll try another back. You can see all the members of NT are now saying, right, This Baron fight is massive. We've got a 10k gold lead on side. That leads to 2, 3, even maybe 4 items on our side here being put in our advantage. That's everything coming into a fight against Game Lord, who are still kind of scrapping around the map to find whatever gold they can. Every single lane across the board is down on gold, bar maybe Redemption, who's about even to friend at this point. When you've got a 16k Lucian, a 16k Graves, you're not too worried about your AD carry being down.
Graves is now pushing again. Like you said, he's got a massive advantage over Random as a whole
so
item
annoying.
in his favor. He is annoying, but that's his job. That's Leon's style of play as well. Leon is just an annoying player to play against. He's going in. That is maybe the angle that he was looking for, but goodness gracious. How is he getting away with this random time and time again? But Leon's found a bit of an angle onto that bot lane tier 1, or rather that bot lane inhibitor tower is going down. We have a big minion wave working into that mid lane inhibitor right now. Oh, somehow Game Lord keeping themselves alive in this game, but it really doesn't feel like it should be the way. And we have Elder Infernal spawning now too. Low HP bars. This might be a big execute play for Game Lord if they want to go for it straight away.
That quickie package is online, available to you, so they want big team fight time for that one to be spawning up as the Elder comes online. Game Lord are the ones with the commanding position. Wards down. Clue going for a little bit of clearance. But keep your eye on that bot wave as well. Those minions and in the top wave are starting to push in here. The longer this gets stalled out for NT, the better. Ult coming through. Corky package going through to the back. Clue with a big ult coming out, but they're so split on the side of NT. Snitch in the back by himself for some reason, almost being burned down. Flash just get away. And he will keep himself alive by the skin of his teeth.
God.
That's the Elder going the way of Game Lord 2. They're going to walk away with that in back pocket and get back towards the base. But what can Friend do? Leon, TP coming through. I thought for a second was coming in onto the Nexus as well, but no, got cancelled at the last second. Leon finally gets himself brought down. Should be cleared out. Game Lord, hold on. Leon, they get the Infernal, but is it going to be enough? Finally, the shutdown comes in.
They're going to go for Baron. They need the Baron to end the game here. 3 inhibitor towers is absolutely ludicrous to find a comeback from when you have got 0 towers on the map. You can now see the Friend trying to take down Yekwi, and he does. Teleports coming through to the Baron right now, but I think there is a big angle for this NT roster to look for a backdoor play if they want to go for it. We've seen a lot of teleports burnt already for Game Lord. They are going for the Baron, though, and I don't know if...
Oh, the rush, no. I think they were looking to try and rush the game end at that point as well. This probably isn't the replay to be watching right now. I won't lie, but let's have a look anyway.
Yeah, this is just unfortunately going in 1 by 1 right now for NT. You can see, as you said, Snitch just trying to buy time for his team to kind of join the fight, but a little too late because unfortunately, before this fight happened, both Doom and Leon backed. And honestly, all credit to Game Lord to go for that play because they knew they had the time and space, they had the setup to do it. They are now entering late game scaling. Like Staff of Flowing Water is there for Sona. She's also got the Harmonic Echoes, like she's boosting and healing a huge amount. Blaze the Ruin King finished up. Rabadon's Death Cap and Void Staff also finished up for Yekwi. I mean, at this point, the gold difference is diddly squat. It really doesn't mean anything realistically. You have some big late game threats. I think the way that, honestly, NT may be looking for a win here is for some kind of crazy backdoor play.
They were looking for it earlier on and couldn't quite find it, but here they might have the catch onto Yekwi. The flash going forward as well. No flash on the Orianna. She gets the exhaust out, but there should be her going down. Zonya's coming through. The collapse might come in from the bottom side of the Sona coming up for support. The ult coming out from Yekwi isn't going to be enough to do, well, anything as it goes completely wide. They try and make the play happen, but ultimately get nothing for it.
It's a little bit too hard right now with the Baron empowered recalls still there for Game Lord. They're too quick to respond on the map, but of course Game Lord are going to be facing that ever-growing threat of just Baron waves crashing in over and over again. They have, of course, got the Elder Infernal, Derry. That is a huge win condition that's going to really amplify their damage. I think it means that teamfights might maybe nigh on impossible for NT at this point, especially with the late game scaling now activated with the Game Lord roster. I genuinely do feel that NT have to go for one of these weird kind of side lane sort of, I guess push attempts. Are we having a straight up base race here? Game Lord
no way.
Baron still.
No, they've got to go back. NT have got to recall themselves out here. I thought for a second Stitch might get caught by the minions. In fact, they both stay. No one goes back. Okay, they're trying to go for a straight march down. They've got the minions coming in behind them if they want it. These towers being absolutely melted by the attackers. Game Lord not quite able to finish it off, and finally there is some response. Snitch going dangerously low. The kickback coming through. Friend almost having to frontline at this point, as finally that tower will fall down. He's also down to a slither of HP. Doom, great shockwave comes in. Clue caught out, but Doom gets taken down. They're finding themselves in him out. Leon, he can't be split pushing now, my friend. He's back in base trying to do what he can. A 4 versus 4 and choose random. still sat in the top wave, just making sure that they aren't going to lose anything. But they haven't quite got the backup here. Here they come. No way. They're going for the rush. Is it Leon going for it here? Can they stop the backs in time is the big question. You've got Random, who has died constantly in these 1v1s, but can he do anything here against Leon? Goes in for the one, down to about half HP. The other side of the map, the base race is still on. Leon's going to back away and I imagine try and rejoin his team here. So for a second, what looked like the climax of this game is going to peter out into nothing.
I think they just need all teleports. I think you just go 5 teleports at this point. I don't think you can win team fights. We just saw right there, you get absolutely bursted out. I genuinely think, I mean, Leon just sold teleport again and went back for Proto Belt. I think you need to go for the backdoor. I think you have such a good opportunity to do it with these minion waves pushing in. And as we've seen here, you just can't compete in the 5v5 at this point. There is too much sustain from the Sona and there is too much damage coming out from that Elder Infernal. You have been outscaled, my friends. You need to find another way to win this game.
They're split push all game long as well as trying to force them to split, and it hasn't really paid off the way that they would have wanted. Sure, they've got all 3 inhibitors down, but the ultimate prize, the game end, has not yet come through. All stacked up in a bush. Leon off on the split push once again, has that Proto on side for the 1v1 against the Gragas, as you mentioned. Random, I think, has overstepped himself a little bit here. Sure, Leon's low. The flash from Random trying to play around the minions, gets away with the 1. Redemption coming in as well, should get Random healed up ever so slightly. And again, the 2 just back away from each other. It is so close in this bottom lane between these 2.
Yeah, Leon seemingly having the edge, but he's just not able to find the killing blow. I mean, Random's got a huge amount of damage. He's gone full AP Gragas, by the way, so isn't even playing that front line, just looking to burst out as much as possible. But look at the top lane wave, already crashing in. You can see that Leon is just threatening there on the sidelines. And this is the problem. Game Lord technically are the better team fighters. They will definitely win the 5v5, but they can't quite find it right now.
I'm not sure what Zepter's waiting for, by the way. Hanging around in red. I think he's expecting maybe a backdoor attempt to come through or something. Not quite sure.
Yeah, he's just keeping his eye on the top lane wave.
Either that or there's a DC. I'm not quite sure. Hasn't moved for a while by the looks of it, so we'll find out what's going on with that in just a moment. Otherwise, though, looking across the board, you're looking towards Leon once again. He's going in. He's going to try and go for a full-on backdoor here. No, minion clearance coming out first. As that Baron online means it's probably going to be this 5 versus 4, this 4 versus 4 around the Baron.
He might have DC'd. I'm not gonna lie.
That is heartbreaking.
Oh no, that is got to be disastrous. I mean, Game Lord. I have to say it. Game Lord have a genuinely good chance of winning this game, and obviously they're up against it with the minion waves crashing in, but they're not out of this right now, and you can see that they're desperately stalling. I think at this point, NT are very well aware that they can kind of go for this Baron play.
I mean, they can burst it down here as well. No real contest coming in.
Oh, they get it! No!
The Ezreal stealing away the Baron! That should not be happening at this level. That is one way to keep this game alive. We're approaching the 100k gold mark as well. That's the steal that will go down in history.
Oh, no, but you have no excuse. Oh, you have the smite. I mean, look, it's late game Ezreal. I know his damage is insane, but that was the play. You needed the Baron. You needed the Baron. Ezreal's damage at this stage is absolutely nutty. I'm not gonna fault Doom too much. I know how hard smites are to secure in very hard situations. But you've
got the shockwave on top as well, right? That was a mismatch of ability. Smite is not going to do anything this late in the game, realistically.
No, but it will. It will. But obviously, if you have a coordinated shockwave with all that burst damage coming from the Ezreal, clearly it's tough to get it right. It is tough, and the pressure is on. But that was the play, right? That was the play that secures you the game 100%. If you get the Baron and there's 3 Baron waves crashing in, you can't defend against that.
I think at this point, with Zephyr not being here, that could be the real thing that puts the nail in the coffin for Game Lord as well. If he was around at that 6, well, at this point, Gold Lead doesn't really matter. But you're seeing just how advanced we are in this game, where basically full builds are coming through. That's the one you got to be excited about. These late game team fights, and sure, the Baron's on side, but I just don't see a way they managed to get all the way through to the end from here.
I think, NT realize this right now, but even then in a 4 versus 5, they aren't able to deal with the Ezreal right now. He's just got so much damage output at this stage in the game. Goodness gracious, we are a 26-minute game here in the Origin series, and you can see NT struggling to find a way to end it all, like struggling to find a way to actually find that nexus and actually, pick up the win. Even with these Baron waves crashing in almost every lane, it is nigh on impossible for them to find an angle and take down the final nexus.
I can't believe how back and forth it's been for about 10 minutes now, where nothing has really happened. It's just been, well, not nothing's really happened, but in terms of game progress, we've stayed at 3 towers down. We saw 1 inhibitor fall for NT, but outside of that, it's just been the trading of objectives back and forth. It's been farming, it's been clearing out, it's been constant attempted split pushes coming out of Leon to no real avail.
Is Leon? I mean, I think they found it onto Random. This is the play, right? They found it finally.
This is it. Random's being caught out. That's the one that you're looking for here. 3 men left to defend the base. Solo against 5 as they press in. This should be it for NT. It has been a scrap. It has been a slog, but they will walk away the winner.
Oh my God. I mean, that's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking for Game Lord because they could have won. They could have won. I mean, I've got to credit NT. They played a blinder of an early to mid game. They just weren't able to secure it before the scaling really came into effect for Game Lord. But heartbreaking. You don't, and I know NT will be feeling bad because you don't want to win a game when the enemy jungler has ended up DCing. It is a real feels bad, man. I've been told that Leon said that was the longest competitive game he's ever played, by the way.
I'm not surprised.
Derry's got his towel out as well, as you can see. He's obviously sweating.
I'm going to close the door when we go to highlights. Production, highlights, go. That is there for me to wipe the sweat away when we're done with this one. Woo! I'll go and do that right now because it was a sweaty game, right? 26, 27 minutes. That's absolutely absurd.
But I mean, you could see like there was such a good early game, apart from a couple of kills that went in favor of Game Lord, like all of that play around the early neutral objectives, the ability to secure those towers very quickly on. I mean, you have to credit NT for how they were able to execute and pick up those inhibitor towers, but I don't think this is a surefire thing despite those inhibitor towers dropping. It was such a good late game scaling comp from Game Lord that even when those inhibitor towers were down, they were able to find a way back into the game and were even able to take fights pretty consistently. That Elder Dragon play was so big brain from Game Lord. It was absolutely huge for them to be able to secure that because it gave them the ticket to the 5v5 team fights as the game progressed. And I think
I'm very impressed, to be honest, that with three towers down, they hold on for what, 11, 12 minutes? And it takes the DC to come through onto Zeta to really get it over the finish line. That was the craziest part.
I'm going to say it here. I genuinely think if had that DC not happened, I think Game Lord would have won. I think there was a real issue. That the only angle that I think that NT had to exploit that game was Leon in the 1v1 versus Random. And I think there was obviously plenty of opportunities where Leon showed he was capable of taking Random on, but he was never quite able to get the job done. If he was able to get the job done, then yes, okay, 4v5, I think there was a good opportunity for NT to win. This was that Elder Dragon play, by the way. It was huge brain. Like Leon and Doom backed. You knew you had a limited window to make this setup happen, and Game Lord were able to do it. Really, really impressive stuff. And unfortunately, at this point, this was that final 1v1 that we looked for between Random and Leon. Leon almost getting bursted out, but his team were there to support him. And that's finally the play that cracked open this game for NT. And it allowed them to eventually secure that Nexus when it just took so long to do that in the first place. I think they missed a lot of windows through some sloppy play, especially around that Elder Dragon. And Game Lord, they look really good. Even with that poor mid game, they were able to cling on. They made some really good late game decisions, and that kept them in the game.
Well, as soon as they managed to get themselves back in as well, that was just one of those that we look at and just go, woo, absolute craziness. NT find themselves with that 2-game point. One more, they walk away winners. They secure themselves once again at the top of the table. I'm pretty sure they still stay there regardless. But for Game Lord, this will be a real kicker having come in from the upper bracket. However, game number 4 is ready. Let's get into it. An eventful series so far at Scoundrel, and I've got no doubt Game 4 is not going to be a letdown either. Maybe not quite a 26-minute slobber knocker, but we're still going to find ourselves with 2 of the world's greatest Origin Series, well, Wild Rift teams, coming head-to-head here in game number 4.
Yeah, and I think right now, off that kind of win, I'm sure NT will be feeling the momentum swinging in their favor. They've managed to kind of fight their way back really well into this series going into Game 4. I expect them to have the mental edge, especially after a loss like that for Game Lord. That's hard to recover from, and I don't want to beat around the bush. Your big influential jungler DCs, it's very difficult to get your heads back in the game.
It can be. Well, let's see. I'm assuming Zepta's back in now. Things are good to go. So Total Pick and Ban is ready. Let's get into it and see what comes through in this game, because that Graves has been a terror now for a couple of games. I'm wondering if we do finally see a ban coming out.
Yeah, I think a Graves ban is pretty warranted at this point. I think both Doom and Leon play it really well, and it's clearly a very powerful pick on patch 2.4. I think when we all saw the changes in those patch notes, we all kind of realized that it was going to be a really, really big thing with the new items. And I just wasn't expecting it to kind of burst onto the scene this quickly. But clearly a lot of these players, like Doom was challenger in League PC. So if you don't know that Doom was actually a challenger League PC player. So he's clearly got a huge amount of knowledge that he was able to transfer. He knew that these items would set Graves up well. And it was very one of those guys that will very quickly jump on picks where he thinks they're going to work based on his previous knowledge. And very exciting to see that jungle meta shifted up so heavily. I do love Graves as a champion. I just think he's really cool. So it's nice to see him in Wild Rift working out.
Alrighty, let's see how things carry on. By the way, worth being told, we just found out that apparently his phone died was the reason for the DC. That's one of them ones that you look back on and say, is he plugged in maybe sometime, matey? If that's true or not, of course, we'll find out at a future date. But the Fiora ban, as has always been the case, going to be the one coming through. And the Corki, in such a prior pick throughout the series, comes out here for NT.
Yeah, they're going to pick it up. I think it's a great. Addition to any roster at this point in time. Synergizes beautifully with Essence Reaver and the new item builds, including the Solari Charge Blade, and also offers you a great source of AP damage, where you don't often get a safe AP damage dealer. Corki is one of the safest AP damage dealers in the game. Speaking of safe damage dealers, Corki and Ezreal, a hyper mobile backline already picked up for NT here. They're going to pick up the Gragas on top, which is something that we've seen a couple of people play. Both Leon and Clue like to sort of pilot that particular champion. And actually the scaling element for NT is looking pretty scary already. Game Lord looking like they're going for a big wombo combo mid-game fight. We haven't seen much Diana recently, actually. Diana hasn't changed much, but when Katarina got nerfed, Diana kind of dropped out the meta because Diana was often considered one of the best picks into Katarina overall. So when Katarina dropped out, Diana dropped out a little bit. But I still think Diana's strong. Nothing changed with Diana. She's still got like a ridiculous amount of damage, a great team fight, but obviously you just need the right setup for her. Xin Zhao and Graves locked in here, so that will be another, I imagine, Xin Zhao jungle and Graves top for the NT, with the Clue playing the Gragas support. I'm going to see Leona locked in. I don't love Leona into Gragas, though. I don't think it's one of the best options you could have picked up into a support Gragas. I do love Leona. I think she's a great pick right now. I think she's very strong, but I don't think she's the best pick into Gragas.
Maybe not for the lane, but I think with the shortness of lanes that you tend to get, you're picking here for the team fights. That lockdown potential she's going to have compared up with the, for example, with the Lee Sin being able to isolate someone, frontline support and CC that it gives you to keep those carries alive. I think really, really strong. But looking at the other side for NT, once more, it's that triple AD carry comp coming out. It has been their go-to time and time again. Let's find out if it's enough to win the series for them right here and right now. Game number 4. Let's get into it.
Goodness gracious. Game number 3.
Diana top?
That is Diana top. That is an interesting one. I was not expecting Diana top coming through here.
You know what I love? You really held the int part of that.
I don't necessarily think it's in.
I'm just saying, just a curious observation of the way you said the words, that's all.
I just think that realistically, because of the grit passive on Graves, he's very good at brawling any kind of, melee brawler, both AP and AD. And so if he's building up that magic resist passively with his grit, then I think it might be an issue for Random. I don't see how he's going to burst Graves out effectively.
Didn't it just say where it's only armor that comes through on his True Grit passive now, though?
No, you get armor and magic resist.
You get armor and magic resist? I know you used to. I can't remember if that got removed. I'm pretty sure it got removed on PC a long while back, where he only gets armor. It was stupid that he could tank everything in a fight. I'm pretty sure it's just armor. I'm
going to check for you because I
go have a dig.
I am now interested. I thought it was magic resist and armor.
I'm pretty sure
it's armor. It's armor. Yeah, no, you're right. It's right.
Yeah.
I thought it was both.
It's okay. But, yeah.
It's not the best. I do like that now a little bit more. That's a very aggressive early. Oh my God, Doom. Crazy. You're right.
You know this is going to happen. You know that Doom will do this as he does every single game. He takes red, then level 2, he's making an appearance in bot, mid, or top. It's happened every single game.
I guess he's, you're playing Lucian mid, you have the mobility. Maybe you felt a little safer to make those kind of plays. Let's have a look here. He he just overextended a little bit. Doom was waiting, even with the relentless pursuit and flash, wasn't able to get away. Great. I mean, Doom is a very intelligent jungler, by the way. And that's one of the things that I think makes Doom so strong in general. He just knows how to play the game. That's like a really stupid way of analyzing it. He's very good at reading the map and just knows where to be at the right time. And that's something that I've always felt is a big strength of Doom overall.
Yeah.
Go for a tower dive bot here, though.
I mean, nah, surely not.
No.
Not against an Ezreal Gragas this early. That sounds like suicide if you're stepping into that one, but apparently not. They were thinking about it for a second, or maybe expecting Doom to come collapsing down when he knew his Krugs were being challenged, but made no such appearance.
I don't think you have the minion wave to work that one either. You had about 2 minions in your favor. I mean, Ezreal could have just like sniped them out, and then suddenly the tower is your friend. So yeah, I think a little bit dangerous to kind of make that happen. But I think Yekwid was just looking for something to do. He pushed the wave in, wasn't really sure what to do on the maps, and made that roam down towards the bottom side. Yeah, so now I'm thinking about it, with the True Grit being only armor, then maybe there is the angle where kind of like an AP top planer that can kind of get on Graves and pressure him. But Diana is a little, I would say Diana has less burst than Gragas, realistically. You know,
yeah,
in a consistent basis. So I'm not sure I'm particularly on board with that pick, but here he goes.
I mean, see how it goes. Great kick, hits onto 2 as well. The double knocker coming through. The ult coming out of the Diana, not going to be enough to burn anyone down. In fact, not enough to do anything.
Oh my gosh.
The 2 in the top side melted down, and you do not want to be giving a couple of kills over to Leon or Doom, given Doom found that first blood in the middle lane.
And they're going to get a huge amount of damage on this tower as well. Graves takes towers extremely quickly also, which is, you know, one of the things that I think benefits Leon as kind of a split pushing style top laner, as at least a plate picked up. Of course, the big resistances that go in favor of towers before pre-4 minutes means they're not going to be able to get it quickly, but it's a great start for NT. They're 3k up already. They clearly have that momentum coming into this game.
Yeah, I mean, they really did try as well. You can see great kick coming out from Zephyr. The ult came out of random not long after. But unfortunately, I think at this point in the game, without those items stacking up, you are not going to beat an early game Xin Zhao or Graves. The mobility, the grit that builds up, just comes back to bite them massively.
Yeah, and I think the other issue was that at the start of that play, Random was still level 4. So there might have been a better opportunity to look for a Diana ultimate earlier into that engage, but unfortunately he was level 4 for the most part. So he kind of pulled out the Diana ultimate towards the end, which felt a little bit more like a desperate Diana ultimate more than anything else. And at that point, it wasn't as impactful as it could have been because Lee Sin was basically already dead.
I imagine here he goes from the rower into the death cap. It's normally the go-to, unless you're looking towards a slightly more tanky setup from Random. Would surprise me in that case. Keep an eye on which way that build starts to go. We hit that 4-minute mark. Both of the neutral objectives spawn, and teams turn their attention towards them. In this case, NT, the ones who are starting very early onto the Drake, immediately there and ready to go. Doom present, Lee Sin nowhere to be seen, but up on the top side, there's a couple maybe caught out here, chasing down the Lee Sin. They're just winning the fight outright here. All coming up from Random onto Leon. Again, not enough to finish him off. Won't get the connecting kill, but finally, Show steps through, finds something for the team, but the kills are still flying the way of NT. All coming out of Clue. It's the Portal combat. I know who I tend to favor between Leona and Gragas in this instance. Clue, I imagine, will not be able to find much more on this one. Just assisting Leona back to the base, should we say.
May even be able to donate this kill over to Xin Zhao, because obviously they're taking so long to kill each other. And I don't think that Xiao's getting out of this.
I didn't even clock that Xiao was running towards the enemy base here. I didn't even clock that at that moment.
Literally running towards the enemy base, and therefore, you know, easy to donate that kill over to someone maybe more impactful. You can see Friend. This is a bit of a, honestly, it's just a full disaster for Game Lord. This game has not been going well. I don't think Friend escapes from this one, though. Does use his arcane shift, but will drop.
Getting 4-man, didn't even want to burn the flash there because he just knew he was done as anything else could possibly be. Leon now the one starting to step forward, trying to go in for a fight. Immediately when burst out or started to. He's now the one doing the counter damage. Flashes forward, finds one onto the man at the backside. Gets a second coming through onto redemption. Can he bring down Yekwid as well? Oh, walks away, does get caught by the Diana Q coming on the backside, but that's 4 kills for NT.
Oh my word, absolutely disastrous again for Game Lord. Another tower open here as well. They should be able to pick this one up post 4 minutes. It will drop like a fly to the rest of this lineup, and that'll be first tower of the game. Massively snowballing in favor of NT right now. The Navori quick plays already picked up by Graves. They're going to see the Essence Reaver finished up. We have the Manamune plus Sheen combo coming out from Friend. But looking like a bit of a disaster. I mean, you see Friend buys a lot of time here. But, you know, at the end of the day, he was a sitting duck for this tower dive, but they didn't have enough damage on the tower to quickly take this and get out. And you can see the Yekwid was not really expecting the response. He took a very aggressive position on the wave, and that was a great follow-up. Clue with a double body slam. And honestly, Leon just knows the limits of Graves, gets so tanky with that True Grit versus armor, this time actually useful versus the types of champions that he's playing against. And I think just some really brilliant responses on the map from NT right now. They're clearly feeling themselves in this fourth game.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth touching on as well that even with coming up against the Diana in lane itself, she's now 3,000 gold behind. And what are you against on the other side? Lee Sin, Lucian, and the Kaiser. You'll perfectly be happy saying, look, armor stacking up on the True Grit passive, not a problem at all. Leon will just keep on running away, but this is my worry. And without the Random being able to contest him in the split push, How do you stop him? It's going to be the same story as the previous game. Massive dynamic change for Leon compared to what we saw yesterday, which was him playing exclusively on the Graves.
And I think also it just shows the diversity and the sort of like the flexibility of this NT roster. They are just able to flex those picks so effortlessly between many people on their their roster. Even Clue picking up people like the Gragas, which Leon had previously been on a lot of Gragas duty in some of their games. So it's just a brilliant display from a draft perspective when you know that plenty of people on your roster can literally pick up a plenty of people in your roster can pick up a champion, and you know that you can flex it to what the team needs depending on the rest of the comp that gets built out. So that's a really good asset to the NT squad. And right now, 10 kills to 3, 5k gold advantage. Infernal Drake spawning next, but Leon may be looking to do the same thing he did previously. He's just going to walk his way towards that top lane. I think NT in complete control right now, and I'm struggling to see where Game Lord actually have an out here. They have the scaling of the Kai'Sa, but I think that's really all they've got going in their favor. Like Lucian will eventually drop off a little, and I don't think Diana's going to be doing much right now. And I think you're dealing with a scaling Corki and a scaling Ezreal. I don't think you win this as the game goes on. Compared to last game where they did, I think if this game scales out, you're in favor of NT.
A little bit of an engage coming in here as well. Leon going quite low. The shield coming out from the barrier as well. But the 1v1 starting to break down. The Diana does finally win it out. Random able to get away from the minions there and not find himself traded straight back out. But that's the first time that we've seen Leon truly contested in that split push.
Yeah, he kind of messed up a little bit on the proto belt there. He and then missed, I think, the end of the line the wrong way just because of the way he used that proto belt, so wasn't quite able to land the damage. But another fight breaking out.
Big stun. The double comes straight through, catches onto 2, but not enough to get anyone down just yet. In goes NT, trying to find these low health members. Zephyr, the one looking quite low, but it's a kill going the way of redemption. The one member who in his counterpart matchup has been ahead in gold, about 1,000 ahead of Friend throughout most of the game, gets the kill. Zephyr walking away on a slither of HP.
And you can see that, unfortunately, NT are going to have to reset off the back of this. They don't have Dooms. They want to get him back on the map in order to contest this Infernal. Yakwi just overextending slightly here. If they can keep him engaged and stop him from backing, then NT should have the advantage when they go to reset for this second Infernal Drake. I think they should be able to now just zone them. Ooh, that's a great true shot to buy again to buy some time. Doom resetting on the map already, so they're going to start that Infernal Drake up.
Yeah, really well stalled out by NT here as well. Game Lord not able to get a full 5-man assemble for this. We're just going to say, look, forget about it. We're not looking to challenge the objective this time round, but we could try and make a trade in the mid. They had a couple running towards there, but the members of NT, a little bit wise to that, do get themselves away. The Leon already there in the mid lane to help catch that wave, stop that tower going down.
This was just that 1v1. Yeah, Leon, I think, just slightly mistimed. Didn't quite manage to land the basic attack off the back of that proto belt. Didn't really offer him much either there as well. So just well played by Random Leona here. And that's a really good ult from Leona. Yeah, great onto Snitch, who has to use the package pretty defensively, which then doesn't really get much use out of that package around this big objective. Low HP bars across the board, but it is Doom that drops, and unfortunately Clue doesn't have that body slam available to kind of, capitalize and take 1-for-1 in terms of junglers.
Beautiful. I mean, look at that point as well. What, 3k gold lead? It's definitely not expanded since where it was about 2 or 3 minutes ago. So fair play to Game Lord for holding on so far. That tower now falling, all 3 of the outers down. This is when you'll start seeing NT pushing into the jungle a bit more, getting vision a little bit deeper and starting to think maybe about that Baron. We have just passed that 10-minute mark.
Baron is definitely something on the cards, but is not a huge advantage for NT right now. And I think that will be a problem that's weighing in the back of their mind. Baron is always an opportunity to throw, and especially versus a Diana who's just picked up the Rabadon's death cap, you are going to be a little concerned about just a big Diana ultimate ruining your day around the Baron pit. So I don't think it's as clear cut as just going for the Baron just yet. I think NT are going to want something a little more to coax them into that objective. I think overall, probably just play this safe, allow Leon to do what he does best, just generate some pressure in the side lanes here. He has picked up that Stellaris Charge Blade as well as a bit of extra critical strikes. So he'll start doing close to 100% critical strike now when he's got those Stellaris Charge Blades stacked up, which may give him a slight edge when he ends up dueling out against Random. By the way, Random and a lot of members have committed to the steel toe plates, which is allowing them to be a little bit effective at dealing against Doom, Leon, and Friend. But of course, Snitch is an AP threat. Clue a little bit of an AP threat as well. So obviously not going to get a massive use out against the entire team from them.
That's good for Stitch, I guess, although it is a reduction of basic attack damage, even if it is mainly magic focus, it's still a reduction. Makes sense to see that kind of being built up across the team so far. Similar story came through for the Leona early, not quite the same yet coming in on Zeta, but I imagine we'll see that. Here goes Leon, just constantly poking away. The ultimate coming out, and he almost managed to bring down the Diana. So again, Leon, even in a 2 versus 1, is managing to hold fire in this bot lane.
Yeah, that Stellaris charge played such a huge item spike for Leon overall. You can see that even in the 2v1, able to outplay just a little bit. Can't quite find the kill onto Random. That has been the story of this matchup throughout the series. Both of them going toe-to-toe. Very... Oh, Random just extended the end of the line, not quite landing the first part of the damage, which wasn't able to... Well, it meant that Leon wasn't able to get the kill there. But again, Random running a heavy risk by staying around versus the Graves.
So back and forth constantly. I mean, in this top side, they always want to be pushing out, but Leon's making sure they're pushed in well and truly. Back having to come through from Random. In a spot where if he gets a bit aggressive here, you'll find Leon going in hyper aggressive. In fact, look for it once again. Look,
he's got the ult.
Unrelenting. Him and Doom, so dangerously aggressive.
Said he had the ult there, but Random fancied his chances. There's going to be the smoke screen. Leon has to use that proto belt to get away from the culling, and he does. We will not see a flash committed from Yekui to take him down. So Leon again escaping from what was a pretty rough looking situation by baiting a lot of resources from Game Lord to the opposite side of the map.
Hell of a lot, yeah, coming through, but not enough that it's going to be another kill coming in. I guess Leon must be so frustrated in this series, by the way. The number of times he's almost killed him has been ludicrous. Doom opted not to take the engage, and in fact knows that he was in a bit of hot water there, burns the ult out just to say to show, no engage from the Leona, thank you very much. I want to walk out of this one in one piece. 2 recalls coming in for the side of NT as they're aware that we've got this Elder about to come online, and that is going to be the big focus.
The Elder will be an important... Actually, no, it's not Elder.
No, it's not Elder, sorry. No, it's not Elder.
I was going to say, I was about to say, you're baiting me, Derry. You're baiting me.
Yeah,
just be the Ocean Drake. It'll just be the Ocean Drake, which is, again, something that should be relatively easy for the NT roster to just commit to with Doom, which looks like it's going to be the case. They can easily poke and zone away the Game Lord roster from doing the Baron. Game Lord feel like they have to make this decision, though. They have to go for the Baron at this point. They know that they're too far behind. They're going for the engage.
Best time. Because look at Doom as well. He's on the bottom side here, but Show gets melted out. They don't care about a tanky support. Absolutely ruined here. Zepter, GA being burnt out at the same time. She'll find herself going down. No problem at all. Doom in the front line looking to keep them busy. A double kill coming in from the Ezreal. They've absolutely then melted their way through Game Lord. These should be the kills that they need. NT might have just about done it with everyone going down. The ace coming through. They turn their attention back towards the Baron, but this is starting to look like it's the death knell coming through for the side of Game Lord at Scoundrel.
But I think Game Lord knew. Honestly, and I know it sounds bad, but I think Game Lord realized that they ain't winning this game if it scales out. They had one opportunity to potentially look to force a fight around the Baron, and it went horribly wrong in the 4v5. Low HP bars already. They've been poked out pretty consistently. It's a good engage, realistically, in terms of target selection from the Leona, from Scal, but unfortunately nobody able to follow up, and there's a very disjointed fight. Lee Sin picked off on the side. Very easy for both Friend and for Snitch to focus down targets one by one because Game Lord were not coordinated in the way that they approached that. And I think at the end of the day, Game Lord realized that there's a timer on this game. And unfortunately, they weren't able to find an opportunity to try and accelerate something in their favor. And I think at this point, you're staring down a 10k gold lead, a team that outscales you. You probably aren't winning this one.
I'm pretty sure you're done at this point as well. Look at Leon as well, going back in the fast forward to finish things off. And this is where the team in the mid lane is starting to collapse down as well. Leon looking for the 1 versus 3, kicked away. Not quite the synergy you're looking for there, boys and girls. Can he go for this one? He goes out as well. He's done the whole thing. He's gone through 3. Sure, a little bit of assist coming in, but it's a triple kill for Leon. The terror of top lane strikes again.
My God, this man is absolutely disgusting, and I think this is going to be an easy pickup now for the Origin series here. This is the final game, and it's going to be NT beating out Game Lord, redemption for them, and another Origin series belt to their name.
Absolutely. NT have done it yet again. Game Lord not able to climb themselves up entirely out of the 4 spot. NT securing themselves at the top with 2 victories back to back. It was a close series, it felt like, in the early game, but as it progressed onwards and onwards, NT warmed into it more and more.
Yeah, and I think, you know, they obviously gathered momentum over the course of the previous 2 games. That game 3 was absolutely nutty. And I think that final game, you could just see, I honestly felt Game Lord were a bit mentally done. I think after that 3rd game, you could feel it. They just weren't playing at that same level. They didn't give themselves a strong late game win condition as they had in the previous game. And, you know, I think they knew with that Baron fight that they were getting outscaled. They had limited windows to execute, and they had to make a play or force a fight around the Baron, because if not, they were just going to slowly bleed out. I don't blame them for the play, but they left it too late. And honestly, NT had just found too many advantages in the early game.
I still love that it felt like a pretty close back and forth final throughout the whole thing. And that is what I really want to dig into a little bit further. Good news is we've got Snitch on interview to have a bit of a chat with about how the series went down and how he feels about yet another Origin Series win.
Oh, not this guy. Not this guy.
Not this guy.
I can leave. It's fine. I don't have to be here. That's all good.
You can just get the hell out of Scoundrel only because of you and your cruel, nasty words. But Stitch, first and foremost, man, congratulations on a big win there. 3-1. Talk to me about that third game first and foremost. But let's go straight to the elephant in the room because that was a ridiculously long game of Wild Rift.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the way it ended is tragic. Like, I mean, we made a whole. I think we had a really great early game. We were in a really solid position, and then we just had a bunch of they had a bunch of clutch fights, clutch moments. It was like every moment they had to win or they lose, they nailed it. You know, I mean, they're such a good team. And it sucks to end the way it does. Like, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. We don't want to win like that. Obviously, they don't want to lose like that. Like, it's really terrible with the way it ended. But it was still, for at least 23 minutes of that game, it was an insane game. So I guess you can't take that away from it.
No, it was Heart Attack Central is the only way I can really think about it. And talk to me about this triple AD carry setup, right? Because you guys have done it, what, 3 times in a row now? We saw it in yesterday's series, in this series. You're loving this triple AD setup.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of something that's ended up working. Obviously Graves got a lot of changes throughout the patch recently, so we ended up trying it a bit. Leon had already played Graves in the past. Doom is already really proficient on Graves, so it just kind of ended up fitting into a lot of our comps, and we can kind of draft him and be really flexible with it. It just kind of opened up these 2 frontline triple ADC comps that we ended up trying, and it ends up working really well. So I mean, yeah, we just kept going for it.
It's something that Game Lord did to you in the first game, though. They ran a 2 frontline double AD carry comp, similar kind of style. You basically play these Essence Reaver AD carries on the backline that are very, very strong scaling. And I think a lot of people are going for that Corki/Lucian setup because then you have the AP AD hybrid damage coming through. You then went for a very different comp in game 2, though. You kind of ran this Akali comp where you were able to circumvent that front line, get to the back line. Was that you reacting to the draft, like reacting to what Game Lord brought to game 1? Because I feel like you had a very different game plan coming into game 2 compared to game 1.
Yeah, I think the way the draft went in this series, and I guess I need to talk to probably Dooms and the rest of them to get a vibe of Dooms is the Game Lord coach, so get a vibe of how they were thinking with the draft. To me, this whole set and our previous set was just actually about Lucian. Both teams were just trying to set up Lucian mid, and the thing about Lucian mid is obviously he's an AD threat, but he's far more reliable in mid lane. So you want to put him in mid lane, which means you need magic damage somewhere else. So if you go through the drafts, I think both of us are constantly trying to limit as many sources of meta magic damage as you can, so we can be the ones to pick the Lucian and not kind of screw ourselves in the draft by not having another option. So I think in that game, Akali was the only meta option, and you saw they went for this weird Galio top, and it's because they have to do something, or else their comp is just full AD. So the main reason for us going for Akali was trying to lock down meta magic damage picks, because I think Corki was gone from that one. I think it got banned. Yeah, I think they banned Corki, and then Gragas was gone, and then it was just Akali was the only one left. We were limiting Akali in the other games in the series. But yeah, so basically it was all about Lucian and just trying to enable Lucian to be drafted. And yeah, we just ended up using Akali in that game to deny it, and then we ended up just finding a comp that ended up working pretty well into them.
Awesome. Well, you guys walked away the winners again, pretty much cementing yourself as #1 currently in the Origin Series with still 1 more month to go. And I'm sure there are plenty of fans out there. I'd love to hear what you got to say. Any words you want to say to them?
Oh, a big shout out to the fans. I'm sure there's a lot of questions going on right now. Listen to me with everything will be solved soon. Just give us some time, but we do appreciate that you're all still out there supporting us. We're obviously still trying really hard. We've managed to win another Origin Series. We're really happy about that. We're hoping we can make it to the LAN event later in the year, and that you'll keep cheering us on. So thank you so much for the support.
I'm sure they will. No one's going to be turning their eyes away from you guys right now. You guys are looking fire. Look forward to seeing what you do in August. Thank you very much, Snitch, for joining us, and have a good evening.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, there you go. Lots of confidence coming out from the boys there. I'm sure it's Scoundrel a massive boost and made everything else going on right now as well to come out with a win like this. Big power statement, no?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think they are the best team in Europe. As much as I meme Snitch, I'm a huge fan of him. He's a really, really great guy. And I think overall they are I think, pound for pound in every lane, playing with some of the best players in those roles. And I think they are the team to beat if you actually want to threaten, a high contender from Europe, especially when we're going towards those LAN series, especially when we're heading towards the potential Wild Rift Worlds that were teased earlier on. I think this is probably going to be the team that you need to knock off that pedestal if you want to be a contender heading to that series. And I think if things stay the way they are, you're almost looking at that Worlds contender from Europe in this game.
We'll keep a close eye, of course, to see what happens to Graves in the next month, because he's been pretty damn strong every time we've seen him. I can't think of many games where he's been weak throughout this competition. Got a few replays, of course, for you from the game earlier on. UOL versus Footballers. We'll then step into the game from the one that we just a second ago. It's been a pretty intense day. A 5-game best of 5 yesterday between Cut and Sunlight. A 5-game best of 5 today between these two teams. And, of course, the 4-game belter that we had just a second ago. It's been full of high moments, of exciting moments. I can't wait for next month already.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. That first game, it's great to see Unicorns of Love find that comeback here. I think they have been the surprise from Group B over the course of the last 2 Origin series. Of course, not as much of a surprise this time round, but they were definitely not the favorites heading into that Nova matchup last time. And I think they've surprised a lot of people in terms of how they've been able to perform there. Even then, Na'Vi struggling with a lot of that, added Nova roster to the Na'Vi's lineup. They weren't able to find the success they maybe wanted in this Origin series either. So all credit to Unicorns of Love. They're a great team. And this time round, Game Lord, they got that first edge in the best of 3. This time round, when it came to the best of 5, it was the NT roster that were able to kind of edge it out. And I think all credit to them. They're great players. As I said, they just managed to execute when they needed to. Yes, okay, game 3, you can kind of put that one to the side. It was a rough one, but when it came to it, they were just a better team.
Yeah, I think ultimately once you saw the aggression from Doom and Leon starting to work for them, because in that first game, it really didn't pay off for them at all. Beyond that point, that's when things started to look a bit more comfortable. Doom really settled into his game and they looked absolutely phenomenal. Very deserving of being #1 here, especially in Europe for the Origin series. Let's take a look then at our brackets, or our rankings, sorry, I should say. So you can see how things currently stand after 2 months of Origin series. NT very firmly at the top on 810 points, surprising absolutely no one. And despite Team Kaizo's 3rd place finish at Scoundrel, still coming in 2nd with 596.
Yeah, I think right now you can see that NT are basically guaranteed a top 3 lock-in. It just means that they need to be a little careful about that next series. But if they come 2nd or even 3rd, you may be looking at a guaranteed 1st place for NT coming out of these Origin series lineups over the last 3 months. Team Queso obviously chasing on the heels with Game Lord not too far behind. They maybe could secure 1st with some results that go their way, especially in the form of NT. But NT right now look like the surefire shoe-in for that top spot in our Origin series.
Absolutely flying their way through. Let's take a look at Group B as well, so you can see how things shape up there. UOL, no surprise, at the top here with 810 points. Just a reminder in case you didn't catch it earlier on, July was worth a fair few more points than what we saw in June. I think it was about 30% more. Footballers coming in 2nd place with 490. Quite a gap forming there. And then look how many teams sit between that kind of 355 and 300 mark at Scoundrel. It is crazy from 3rd downwards.
Na'Vi, because of how it happened, because obviously Nova didn't exist they no longer competed in this Origin series, and a lot of that roster moved over to Na'Vi. Na'Vi have to have an insane 3rd Origin series. With the roster that they've got good players. They have to have a really good performance next Origin series to secure themselves a spot. And I think, obviously right now it looks like Unicorns of Love are pretty much untouchable. I think for the most of the table, apart from Footballists, I think they are untouchable. So I think, Unicorns of Love sitting pretty. They're sitting pretty going into the 3rd Origin series here over in Group B. But there is a lot of chasing that can be done in that group, and I think that's going to be a lot of pressure on Na'Vi's shoulders to kind of climb back some ranks.
Absolutely. I mean, you've done 3 of the days of this competition. What have been your high moments? What do you make of patch 2.4 and the impact that's had as well? I know you love getting into the nitty-gritty of patches, so talk to me a bit about that for a second.
I just think that patch 2.4 has been really healthy overall for the game, because it's just opened up a lot more options that were not previously there. It's made a lot of champions that were previously pretty bad actually pretty meta, and I think obviously you're seeing your picks that were still good still remain good, but we just have more options, and that's nice. I like having more options in Wild Rift, and just add some more runes and I'll be super happy. But overall, I think we're in a good spot right now. Patch 2.4 has been really influential, and I think I've just been really excited to see the talent that we've got in Europe. I mean, you see the quality of some of these plays, even on a mechanical level. They are rivaling what pro-level PC players could do. You just look at that 1v3 from Leon on the top lane. That looked like a professional PC play, at the end of the day. That was beautiful to watch. And I think that's just great to showcase just what kind of mechanical ceiling Wild Rift has to offer.
Absolutely. Well, it's been another wonderful month of the Origin series here. We still have, of course, one more to go, 14th and 15th of August for the August qualifier. Last chance to get some of those juicy points to start qualifying towards that Lowe's LAN finals later in the year. Sign-ups for those do close at midnight or just before midnight, 1 minute before, on the 10th of August. So lots to look forward to there. If you want to get yourself involved, if you want to be up here having it Scoundrel scream your name when you do something cool, perfect time to be getting yourself involved. But from myself, from a Scoundrel, the wonderful production team behind us, and of course Riku and Yuko, who were casting the earlier on series, thank you very much for tuning in. And we'll see you guys in the middle of August for another thrilling stage of the Origin series. Goodbye.